Let me feel your love again.
Yo, what is going on, Papa Fam? It's your boy Sunny, and I am back with another video. But today, Next.js 14. Alright, so we're doing the latest and greatest stuff on this channel, and we're building Dropbox. Now this one I'm excited for because this is one that anyone can join with. It's going to be a beginner friendly tutorial, and I promise you this when I say this, guys, this one is going to be one that you want to add to your portfolio. It's got so many impressive things, but I guarantee you're going to really enjoy building this. Let me know where you're watching from right now. I want to see everyone light that chat up right now. I can see everyone's tuning in from loads of different places around the world. Let me know where you're watching from. We're about to drop the demo of this Dropbox 2.0 clone. We've got Next.js 14, React, of course, we're using Next.js. We've got Shadcn, Clerk Authentication, Firebase, Tailwind CSS, TypeScript, and so many more goodies on your screen. Get ready, guys. This is the Dropbox. I was about to say Netflix. This is your new Netflix. This is the Dropbox 2.0 clone. Check it out, guys. Here we have our beautiful app. So much to go ahead and showcase from. We've got South Africa now. I see you guys. I'm going to tune in and reply to all your comments in just a second. But we've got the Dropbox 2.0 clone, fully responsive. Let's go ahead and click into it right now. This is our dashboard, guys, and I want to highlight a couple of things before we jump into the demo. Firstly, beautiful, yeah, light and dark mode. That's the standard now. We've got this, right? Fully responsive app. Looks amazing, guys. Clerk Authentication. Look at that. And if I go ahead and show you something, let's sign out right now, and you can see it gates me. So we've got middleware inside this build as well. If I try and go to the app and I'm not signed in, check this out. It goes ahead, throws me to a login screen where we're using Clerk Authentication. We click continue with Google, and then you can go ahead and sign into any of your accounts. I'm going to sign into my Sunny account. And by the way, yes, it is correctly working. If you sign into your account right now, you will go ahead and see only your files. And as you can see right here, we've got all of our stuff. Now, if I was to go ahead, I can either click this and a pop-up will show, or I can go ahead and drag and drop something in right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take a thumbnail, for example, to when we hit 220,000. You look at that, guys. We've got a nice drag and drop functionality. Go ahead and highlight it. Toast notifications. Boom. Beautiful stuff. And here you can see we've got our nice little file that's been uploaded. I can go ahead and download that, and you can see for a second. Boom. Hey, awesome stuff. And we can go ahead and even rename it. So if I go ahead and say we're actually at 240K now, so I can go ahead and rename that. Boom, we can rename our files. And if I want to go ahead and say, for example, I'm not happy with this podcast right now, we can go ahead and delete that just like that. So we've got full UI UX facilities here, full CRUD functionality, loads of stuff happening in this build, and it goes ahead and detects which file you've got going on as well. All of this is coming up in today's build. We've got our navigation, everything works, and as you asked for it, I saw somebody ask, is it fully responsive, Sunny? 100% yes, guys. This is a fully responsive build. It's something that you want to go ahead and code along with me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and reply to you guys. So we've got USA in the house, South Africa, Somalia, India, Kenya. What is good, guys? Sierra Leone. Go ahead and keep letting me know where you're tuning in from. We've got 200 people at the moment already tuning in. This is absolutely awesome. And somebody asked me, Sunny, are we going to be doing authentication from scratch via NextAuth? No, we're actually going to be using Clerk Authentication today. So if you haven't used Clerk, we are using this today to go ahead and power things up. Now, if you haven't already heard, before I jump into this, this is a beginner tutorial. So this is going to be something which anyone can follow along with me from. So if you're a member of the Papa Fam or you're new to the channel, you can go ahead and follow me along with this and it will make sense. I'm going to break it all down today at a comfortable pace, so you do not have to worry. But if you want to go ahead and take it a step further, the Papa Fam has opened up its biggest sale ever, period, right? We've got our Black Friday sale, Cyber Monday. You can go ahead and check it out right now. The first link in the description takes you to papareact.com/course, where you can go ahead and join our flagship course. Now, guys, I put my heart and soul into this course. You can literally go ahead and check it out for yourself. You've got about 2 days to capitalize on that deal, and it's pretty much 50% off the entire course. So we teach you to go from zero to absolutely landing your first job, smashing it as a developer, and we've cracked this formula. Take a look for yourself and enjoy this video. And if you want to go ahead and learn, or you find it too difficult, that's the place where I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to make everything make sense. Okay. Now, today's video was only made possible by our friends over at Hostinja. So not only are we going to be building an awesome app today, but I'm going to show you how you can go ahead and deploy it, so that way you can go ahead and add it to your portfolio and show it off to your employers and land your next dream job. Okay. And after that, we're going to go ahead and show you how to actually host it to your own domain name. Okay. So today, this video is brought to you by our friends over at Hostinja. Now, why would I recommend these guys? Firstly, I've been working with them for a very, very long time. They're absolutely incredible. Sorry, I've got a bad cough right now. They're absolutely incredible. And right now, I've got you, your boy has sorted you out with a 63% discount. Yes, a I said it, 63%. So not only have they got a Black Friday sale on right now, but you can go ahead and claim it right now by clicking the claim deal button right here. So all you gotta do, head over to the description. You can select any of the options right now. This is actually a VPS. So I have shown you in a separate video how to deploy a Next.js app, not to Vercel, but to your own custom virtual private server. So if you're interested in either getting a domain name or getting a virtual private server, Hostinja is the place that I would recommend. Now in this case, let's go ahead and say I bought a virtual private server here. So I click add to cart. Very simply, go ahead, go to my cart. And your boys made it so easy for you guys. Firstly, just simply select which plan you want, head over to the bottom, and where it says you have a coupon code, simply type in Sunny, apply, and just like that, boom, I up your discount. So you've got even more discount on the top of it, right? So this is something you do not want to miss. Their Black Friday sales are always awesome. And the reason why I would highly recommend these guys, honestly, they're really, really amazing to work with. They've got massive uptime. They've got amazing customer support, extremely fast servers. And if you're old school and you're still using things like WordPress, they've got support for you right out of the box. And the best part, guys, if you're not happy, they have a 30-day money back guarantee. Their servers are bloody awesome. I've done a VPS video on it. You can check out on the channel. If you're watching the replay, the video will be popping up somewhere around my face right now. Okay, so definitely go ahead and check them out. This is something you do not want to miss. And as I mentioned before, if you find any of this tutorial a little bit too tricky, a little bit too hard, then make sure you go ahead and check out popularreact.com/course to go ahead and get started and join the community. Right now, it's worth mentioning. Sorry guys, I got such a bad cough. It's worth mentioning, if you want the code for today's video, it is going to be available in the Papa GitHub repo, okay? So you can either follow along for absolutely free, or you can go ahead and get the code and you can get access to not only today's build, all my future builds, and over 50 of the builds I have already done, including the personal portfolio and resume. So absolutely banger. What more can I give you guys? Honestly, it's crazy. Right, so before we jump in, I'm gonna go ahead and shout everyone out who's joined in today's live. We've got New Zealand, Tanzania, Colombia, DRC, Cameroon, Romania, France, India, Finland, Malaysia, Ghana, Rwanda, Nigeria, Morocco. That's what I'm talking about. India, UK, USA, Bangladesh, Zambia, rainy Britain. I feel you. I'll be back in Christmas time and I feel your pain. Right, somebody says, will we learn how to use server actions, Sunny? So today is actually more of a beginner tutorial. I have got a dedicated video on server actions. Feel free to check out my channel. It's literally there. I teach you all about it. So we've got loads of stuff happening right now. So let's go ahead and jump into today's video. I think we're good. Jay, we're all clear. Let's go ahead and dive into today's video, guys. So first thing I want you to do is we're going to spin up our app. Okay, so we're going to get into a bit of a flow state right now, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So first thing I want you to do, I like to use the Warp browser. Okay, so the Warp browser is basically a glorified terminal. It's got loads of additional add-ons, but you can use a regular terminal. It's completely fine. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you, and feel free to code along. Let me know right now, are you coding along with me today, or are you just going ahead and watching for fun and watching the replay? All of the replay will be up on YouTube afterwards. And remember, if you do enjoy these videos, all I ask is you subscribe and you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, so this video gets pushed out to as many people as possible. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into it. So I'm going to go ahead and type in documents, builds. So I'm actually going into it, and if you haven't, if you're not using Warp, you have to put a CD there, and we're going to go ahead and say create next app. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and do the following command: npx create next app at latest. Now if you don't have npx and that does not work, all I want you to do here is simply go ahead and Google Node, and you have to go ahead and install Node. Okay, so right now I'm going to type in Dropbox clone YouTube. Okay, hit enter. Now this will go ahead and prompt you a couple of questions, right? It's very, very simple to go ahead and get set up. Would you like to use TypeScript? In this case, I'm going to say yes, 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 yes. So basically just keep hitting enter. All the defaults are completely fine. Now, while this is preparing, I'm going to go ahead and break down the tech stack for today. Okay, so some things that we need to know about while that's going ahead and getting ready. Some of the things that we've built today, or some of the things that you're going to learn today. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and say, oops, okay, we do not want to do that. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and show you. We have, if I type in, okay, there we go. Yeah, we've got Next.js 14. Okay, so Next.js 14, absolute banger technology. We're teaching you all about that today. But of course, if you're learning Next.js, then we're covering React. React is the fundamental library underneath it all, right? Next.js is simply a framework for how we use it. Then we have Shadcn. So all of this beautiful UI that you see, including the lovely pop-ups that you saw right here, all of these modals, all of this beautiful stuff, even this sorting feature. Look at that. But oh, I forgot to even mention, look at this. We have skeleton loaders. Look at that. Server-side rendering at its finest, right? So let's go ahead and pop this in. We are going to be using Firebase to go ahead and store. So we're using Firebase storage to store all of our files. And then we have Firebase Firestore to go ahead and actually store everything in a NoSQL fashion. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and switch song. I'm not a fan of this one. Okay, then we've got Tailwind CSS, which is built off of Shadcn. So let's go ahead and pop that in. Tailwind CSS. So again, if you want to go ahead and you've been wanting to learn any of this stuff, this is the time you want to do it. We also have Clerk for authentication. And it's also worth mentioning that Clerk is actually going to be implementing a middleware. So middleware is something which is actually part of Next.js 14. It's part of Next.js 14, but we're going to be making it so simple. So that way, if you try and access a authorized page, you get thrown out back to the home screen. Trust me, this is way easier than you think, okay? We have a full CRUD functionality with all of this. You can edit, delete, add in new files. And of course, we have our drag and drop. So this is beautiful. Drag and drop, everything is working the way you want it. And we have this lovely little toggle for our dark mode. So if you've ever wanted to add in dark mode to your app, and yes, this is coherent with the entire app, you can go ahead and see for yourself. We even have the system preferences. As you can see, my system preference is dark mode because I'm a developer. It's a lot easier that way, right? So lots of cool things to look forward to. And of course, this is all built with TypeScript off the base of it. So we're trying to reduce the number of bugs inside of our code base. And then after all of that, I'm going to show you how to deploy it to Vercel. So let's go ahead and jump back into our setup. So heading back over, you might get this message, right? So it says, you know, the node version is currently too low. Now I want to highlight this, right? So I actually did this on purpose. Right now I'm on node version 16 and it says the required version is node version 18. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm actually going to delete the file that I just created, right? And there's a way that you can do this. So I'm going to show you how we do it. So we say make remove dash RF, which is like a recursive remove. And I'm actually going to remove that entire folder. So I've got rid of the folder. Now I want to show you something. So something that you might find extremely handy, if you simply type in NVM inside of Google, this is called a node version manager. Now, node version managers, I teach this inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero a lot. This allows you to switch between your node version. It's really important that you know how to do this, right? So all you want to do is go ahead and add that to your setup. And now once you've got that, we can simply go ahead and type in NVM ls, and I can actually see all of the versions on my machine. So here you can see I've got version 16, 18, 20, and so forth, right? And you can install new versions by simply saying install and so forth. But now I just want to go ahead and bump it to version 18. So I say nvm use 18. And just like that, I'm now using a later version of Node. So what I can then do is go back, run the original command, rebuild the app, and now we won't see that error message. So these tutorials are not only about everything going perfectly smooth, it's about showing you the actual production things that you need to know to succeed in the real world. Okay, so now that's gone ahead and done it. We can go ahead and say cd Dropbox clone, and I'm going to go ahead and type in YouTube like so. And now we're in the correct directory. So I'm going to type in code full stop, and this will allow me to open up VS Code in my correct folder. So that is where we want to be. I can simply close warp afterwards. And as I always mention in every build, prepare your environment so it's all fresh. So I like to have my code up, and then I like to have a separate window in the same coding view. And I'm going to simply do this. So I pop it on the side right there. And now this is where you want to be. This is our starting point. Now, first things first, you'll notice we have the app directory. This is because we're using Next.js 14. So anything after Next.js 12, so Next.js 13, 14 starts using the app directory. We simply click into page, and I want to run this app now, okay? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut my previous app, and I've actually got a deployed version of the app. So I'll tell you what, if you guys want to go ahead and play with this app right now, you can feel free to go ahead and head over and mess around with it a little bit. Check this out, boom. I love the comment that just came through, by the way. Somebody just said, Sunny is the only guy I've seen who live fixes bugs. What a legend. And I promise you guys, I will always do that. I will never ever try and perfect everything to a granular level, because the reality is you will get bugs inside of your builds when you're building them. And it's not fair if every single tutorial never shows you that. You need to see that part, because that's the part where people quit. And I'm not letting you quit. All right, you're gonna get past these bits. Okay, so I put it inside of the chat right now, so you can feel free to play with the app yourself. I'm also going to be using that as a reference in the event that I need to go ahead and refer to our app if we need to, for example, the designs and everything, okay? So next up, we've got localhost 3000. You can see nothing is on there. So Command J opens up my terminal. Click on the output tab, close the first one, close the last one. You should simply have your terminal. Now, all I want you to do, npm run dev. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. And we're going to go ahead and hit enter. Now, while that's starting up, oh, we've got a little error here. And this is because, okay, another issue, right? So we set our app up with Node version 18, right? So in this case, you can see request is not defined. This is because when we're using Next.js 14, we actually need to use the latest version of Node. So in this case, what I want you to do, nvm ls, and let's check which version this is on. So you see, when you open up a new terminal window, sometimes it reverts back to the old one. So you can set a default. I'm not going to go through that right now, but what I want you to do is nvm use 18. And now we switch that version back to nvm 18, and we can say npm run dev. And if this doesn't work, we can simply bump it to 20. Okay, but you can see right now, our issues are now gone. So I hope that was actually useful to you, because that is the real life production things that will happen when you go into a production environment. Now we're going to hit refresh on localhost 3000, and you should see, hey, we've got Next.js, right? Sick, right? Everything's good. Shahid, I appreciate you. He goes, you're the best, Sunny. Hello from Australia. Jay's a legend. Awesome stuff. Somebody said that link's not working. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you the actual link right now. I think I gave you a production URL. Bear with me in 1 second. I'm giving you the link right now. I'm going to post it into the live chat right now so you can see that. There you go. And somebody says, any reason specifically why we're using version 18? Yes, because Next.js 14 is now based on, I think it's 18 and above. So you obviously, each node version includes new things. They want to leverage that, right? So in this case, we've got the app started. So what I need you to do now is we're going to start building this out. I think this is a good pace. I think people are enjoying this, and I can see the retention is absolutely incredible. Smash that like button if you want me to carry on at this pace. Okay, so what I want you to do now is everything inside the main brackets, you want to go ahead and delete all of this. So get rid of all of that. Simply type in H1, and we're going to type in Dropbox clone. Now you might be wondering, Sunny, what the hell is all those pop-ups that you've got on your screen? So if I type in H, how are you getting all that? Right? So this is actually Tailwind CSS utility classes. And the way you get that is you simply head over to extensions, type in Tailwind, and all I need you to do is go ahead and click install on this. Okay, click install on this, and you're going to get all of those additional helper sort of suggestions, all that kind of stuff. Now, once you're here, I'm also going to get you to install my favorite, which is actually this one. So ES7, if you type in ES7, you will see this one right here. ES7 React Redux React Native snippets. Now, I kid you not, when I first started showing this, it wasn't even 1 million downloads. Now we've got 10 million. I hope I had a contribution to that. I think I did. But yeah, that's the one you want to go ahead and install. Okay, quick little water break because I'm coughing like crazy today, and I'm going to go ahead and address some of the comments. Moment says, hey Sunny, this is your boy Moment from Sudan. I got a job opportunity in Saudi because of you. Thank you so much for everything you do from us. Dude, that is sick. Well done. That is what the Papa Fam is about. Jay screenshot that. That is awesome. Code with Guillaume, what's up? He goes, thanks. A new live. What's good? Ikabe says, Sunny has saved a lot of lives. Dude, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Honestly, I appreciate every single one of you. Your messages mean so much to me. Got such a sweet message yesterday. It boosts me up. You don't understand how much they mean to me. It's crazy, right? Right, now we've also got the playlist going. I'm going to go ahead and start this off from the beginning. We're going to get into a flow state, start building this app out. Okay, so right now you should see this Dropbox clone. Now, I don't want this. This doesn't look like at all how I need it, right? So what I want you to do is we're going to go ahead and get rid of all of this. Now you can see it's just in the corner, right? So we want an absolute minimal styling. The next thing I need you to do, go to layout.tsx. Now, think of layout as the skeleton. The skeleton is here. And what I want you to do is I'm actually going to simplify it. You can modify the metadata of the page. So we can say Dropbox clone, YouTube, and so forth. And now you can see, look, our metadata has changed for the page. And you can also see that this is basically where the page is going to get injected. So if you think of children as essentially where the page is going to get injected, right? So this is a layout file. It allows us to go ahead and get everything sort of, visually as we want it. But you might be wondering, why is the background black? This is because we're importing globals.css, and you can see we've got some default styling. Now I want you to go ahead and remove all of that. So all you have is Tailwind base, components, and utilities. This is essentially how we go ahead and get everything. Look at that. Someone goes, we are 177 live and likes 167. Kindly let's balance. Yes, exactly. Smash that like button. Get up to 200, get up to 500, get up to 1,000, right? This video is going to go big. I'm telling you, right? So at this point, we hit save, and this is where you want to be, right? You need these three at the top to go ahead and pull in all of the Tailwind magic. So that's great. We've got that looking good. Now, what we're going to do, I always like to go ahead and draft out my apps in a very similar way every single time. And today is no different, right? We're going to go ahead and have 2 pages inside of this app. The first page is going to be the home page. The second page is going to be / dashboard. Okay, so you can see dashboard is protected by an auth page, right? So in this case, I'm just going to log in just to show you something. And right now, you can see / dashboard. Okay, so with this page in mind, what I want you to do, this is very serious, this song, right? That's better. Okay, so what I want you to now do is we're going to prepare our app for this. So let's simply go into this. Our home page, so the / index page is simply this one. Now in Next.js 13 onwards, the way we do our routing is we do it based on folder. Okay, so what I want you to do is create a folder and call it dashboard. This will reflect / dashboard, right? But right now you'll see a 404 because we don't have a page.tsx. All I need you to do, create a file called page.tsx. And now remember those snippets I told you about earlier? You're simply going to put RFCE. Boom, you have a page made for you. And we're just simply going to type in dashboard. Okay, and now you can see, boom, we have a dashboard. Okay, so this is the first step. Okay, I've got Grammarly correcting everything. That's fine. So this is going to be our dashboard. So now we've got our 2 pages. We've got / dashboard and we've got our home screen, Dropbox clone. Okay, so the next step naturally is I want to actually add in my authentication first. I want to handle that part first. So what we can actually do is we can say anybody can access the home page, but if I try and go to the / dashboard, you have to be logged in. Otherwise, you ain't getting through to that point. Okay, so I'm going to make it super easy for you to do that. So first things first, I need you to head over to clerk.com. Okay, once you're at clerk.com, I want you to click on dashboard. Now, all you have to do here is create an account. I already have an account here. We're going to click on add application. Okay, it's very easy to go ahead and use. Let's go ahead and call this one Dropbox clone YouTube. Right? How will your user sign in? You can actually enable a number of different sign-ins. And look at that, guys. Beautiful, easy to set up. They have all the components ready for you. We're going to keep it extremely simple today and just start off with Google. You can even see, look at this. Look, honestly, incredible service. Really, really incredible service. We're going to click on create application. Google is going to be our primary sign-in component today. Okay, so then we've got Next.js. Now what I want you to do here is copy these environment variables. Okay, copy them, head over to your code, and we're going to create something called an environment variable file. So I want you to click on package.json, so you're at the top level. Then I want you to create a .env.local file. This is where we keep all of our, keys. It could be, private keys, it can be public keys, but in this case, I just need you to paste. Now, I'm not going to show it because otherwise everyone can basically hack my stuff. I'm going to go ahead and paste what we just copied before. And I'm going to tell you about 2 things, right? So I actually want to show you something because right now, so what I've actually done here is I've hidden the first key. So anything that says next public means that this key will be shown on the client side as well. So this means that it's not a key that we worry about getting leaked. So hence why I can show you this key, nothing's going to happen, right? So in this case, next public means that on client side renders, it's going to be shown. So if we ever try to access that key from the browser, you will be able to get the value of it. Any other key which does not have next public appended to it or prepended to it will not be visible on the browser. And I stress this point. You need to understand by default, all environment variables are like you can read them on a server render. So if you're doing server-side rendering or you're doing a rendering the page beforehand and preparing the data, all that stuff can happen on the server and you can get access to that. But if you try to access it on a client component, no, it's not going to work, right? And they do that because it's safe to do that, right? You don't want to have that component, that key being leaked out to everyone because they're going to use it. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and paste my key back in, hit save, and I'm closing my environment file. Guys, this is absolutely awesome. We've got over 200 people now watching on different platforms. This is great. Smash that like button. We're about to smash 200. I can see a lot of people saying, where is the storage coming from? We're actually using a Firebase storage, and I will be covering all of this today. Okay, this is actually, somebody said, how long will this build take? Well, I'm not gonna rush it, but I can guarantee about maybe the 2-hour mark is a sweet spot here, right? So we've got our Dropbox clone. Let's go ahead and go back to our setup. So we've already done this. Then we can click continue in docs. Okay, now you can see here we've got a lot of different examples, right? So example repositories, you can go ahead and check that out yourself, but we're going to go ahead and install Clerk into our application. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this on the side right now. I'm going to do Command J to pull up my terminal. And what I want you to do is get used to having several terminals open. So my left terminal is the one which has my app running. I'm going to split my terminal, and I like to work this way. So I can see my left one running, and I'm simply going to use my right terminal as an installation terminal. Okay. So once that's done, we can simply go ahead and pop that over there. Quick little water break. My lungs are not good today. Shaquille says, you're a legend, bro. I appreciate your content. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in, my guy. All right. So at this point, okay, I've done the same mistake here. I need to go ahead and actually type in nvm use 18. You would probably want to default this at this point, but I think it's handy to show you that anyway. Then we do npm install clerk. There you go. We're good. Okay. Now at this point, what I want you to do is we can simply pop these in. Now, every time I install a new package, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to keep an eye on my app running on the left side. Command J to hide that, and we can carry on. Okay, so once that's done, we've already set our environment keys. We need to wrap our app in something called a Clerk provider, okay? So what we want to do, head over to our layout file, and we're simply going to go ahead and pop this in. So Command P opens up a quick search. So I don't like to go ahead and click this, go into layout. For me, that feels very long. Instead, Command P, layout, enter. Much faster tricks and tips, right? This is why it helps to go ahead and actually help, have a mentor sometimes teach you these little shortcuts. Okay, so after we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and copy this, pop this in the top. Clerk provider, all we need to simply do is wrap the entire app. So not only the HTML part, but the entire app inside of our Clerk provider. Okay, just like that. Simple as that. Okay. Then we need to go ahead and add in a middleware file. Now, all a middleware file does is essentially every request that is made to your application goes through this middleware. So let's say, here's our website over here, right? Here's me as a user. Every time I make a request to my website, so that request comes over to my website, then all we're essentially doing is we're adding a middleware which just simply checks something. You can check anything you want. In this case, we're simply checking, are you logged in or are you not logged in? And that middleware will basically say, okay, you're logged in, so you can get to go through to the website. If you're not logged in, you get to go back to your initial homepage or wherever the hell you came from. Okay, so that's essentially what we're adding in right now. So here, what you want to do is at the top level, so package JSON. Now this is actually a Next.js feature. I want to create a middleware.ts file. It has to be called middleware.ts. Okay, we're using TypeScript, of course. Then what I want you to do is copy the contents of this file. Okay, now what this does by default is it protects everything, right, including TRPC routes if you're using TRPC. It's going to go ahead and basically say everything by default is protected. Okay, so now if I went to my application and I actually tried to refresh, you will see it actually will try and log me in. So you see this, look, oh, we can't even access the home page. That's a bit weird, right? So how do we actually go ahead and say that there is a public page and that public page is the home page? Guys, we're about to smash over 200 likes. Destroy that like button and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now. We're going to type in public routes, just like this. And we put in an array and you can simply start putting in some routes. In this case, we're just going to put /. Now, if I try and access my localhost 3000, boom, look at that. But if I try and go to / dashboard, you will see that page is protected. So just like that, somebody says, okay, that's jokes. Jay, you see that? So at this point, you can see if I go ahead and do this / dashboard, boom, look at that. All right, so this is protected now. So heading back over, we've already set up our authentication. I kid you not, it's that simple to do that, right? So with that bit done, now what we can do is add something called a user button. So I'm going to show you very simply how this will work. We can go ahead and go to our app. I'm going to go ahead and pop in something called a user button. So let's go ahead and pop this top line in right here. Boom. Very simple. Go ahead, take the user button and simply use that component like so. Okay, now head back over to our app and you will see there is no user button. Okay, you're probably wondering, well, that's pointless, right? I didn't do anything. Well, in fact, firstly, that's because we're not logged in. So if I was to log in now, so if I go to / dashboard and I log in, so continue with Google, and I click Sunny Sanga, and then I go back to the home page. I want to prove a point here. So you see it's logged me in. I've gone to dashboard. Let's go back to my home page. And there you can see my user button has loaded. It will pull my profile picture in and all that good stuff, okay? But that doesn't make sense because what happens if I log out? You see there's no user button, right? And then it goes ahead and throws me back here. So we don't want to do that right now. Instead, what I'm going to do is set up a header So we're going to go ahead and build the header component. So right now, this header component that you see right here, we're going to build this, and then we're going to implement everything off of the back of that. So if I sign out, instead, you're going to see a sign in button. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement that right now. So first thing I want you to do is go into your app, go to the package.json level, create a new folder called components, and we're going to go ahead and create our first component, which resembles this header. So I'm going to go ahead and create a header.tsx. Okay, just like that. And then we can say RFCE, boom, header, like so. Okay, now I'm just going to show you where we're going to put this. So the header, you might be wondering, oh yeah, okay, we're going to put it in the page. No, actually, we're going to put this header inside of the layout because I want it to be applied to all of my pages. So what I can actually do here is where we have our children being rendered out, I can actually go ahead and say something like this. I can go ahead and pop in, oops, header, like so, control spacebar, components imported, like so. Okay, hit save, go back to our app, and now you can see the header is being rendered here. So now we're going to go ahead and build out our header just like so. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is go into your header, and we're simply going to go ahead and change our SEO. For SEO purposes, we're going to make it a bit more syntactically correct. So, you know, web crawlers will know that that is a header, which is the way you should be doing things, right? And then secondly, we're going to go ahead and get some of the things like this put inside, right? So let's go ahead and split this up very easily. Now I'm going to be teaching you about Flexbox, all this good stuff, and I'm going to try and do it in the simplest way possible. So firstly, this is a box, right? We're going to split this box up into two, a left box and a right box. And then all we simply do is say center them and justify the space between. And we're basically going to tell Flexbox to do this, and I don't really want to know any more than that. All I want to know is that you handle that. Flexbox is doing this job, and it basically does all that for me. So I'll show you how simple that is to do that. All we have to say is make this entire box a flex box. We're going to center all of the elements inside of it, and I'm going to justify the space between. Okay, and you're probably wondering, well, that didn't really do much, Sonny. You know, that's kind of kept it all the same because we don't have any children inside of it. So what we do is we're simply going to have two things. The first one is going to be a link. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to put this on a separate screen, and we're going to use it as a reference file. So let's go ahead and boom, we just crossed over 200 likes. Let's keep growing, guys. Keep going. 300 likes, 400 likes, 500. Let's go. Right, and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so first things first is this left section is a clickable link. So if I was out of this page and I click there, it will take me back to this link. So we're going to be using the next link tag. Okay, so it's a link tag, and inside of it, we're going to have things like the picture and the Dropbox sort of header. So in this case, the H1 is going to be Dropbox, and I'm actually going to go ahead and pass a href here and make it /. So that means if you click this link, it will take you to the home screen. Okay, so if I go to / dashboard, that's going to be protected. So let's quickly log in, and I will show you Sunny Sanga. Let's log into that. And now you can see Dropbox is there. If I click it, notice what happens to the URL. I'm redirected back to the home page. Okay, so that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Next is we're going to have a div with an image tag inside. This is a next image tag, and this image will have the source of the image, which is actually it's just a Dropbox logo. You can feel free to use it yourself or use whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and pop this in, just simply alt tag. And I'm actually going to invert this one. So I'm going to invert the color of it. And I'm going to say that it should have a height of 50 and a width of 50 as well. Hit save. And now here's the interesting part. So when you're using something like the next image tag, firstly, I have a whole video dedicated on how to use the next image tag. You can feel free, if you're watching the replay, Jay will go ahead and add it, so it'll pop up on the screen right now. But if you're not watching the replay and you're watching this live and you want to check that out, just simply type in next image Sunny Sanga on YouTube, and you'll find a tutorial that explains all about this. Essentially, what Next is doing is it's pre-optimizing that image, so that way it's more efficient, it's cached, all of those good things are being optimized. But you don't want to allow any sort of URL to be optimized, because then, you know, things that we don't want to happen can happen. So what we essentially do is we have to whitelist all of the different domains that we say is okay. So we're going to go to our next config over here, and we're simply going to go inside of here, and we're going to type in images. And all you want to do is inside of here, they've actually changed it. So before it used to just be domains, and you might be wondering, that's how we did it, right? Well, now it's updated, and we simply have to type in remote patterns, and we pop in our brackets, right? And then we have different objects which resemble the different websites that we actually want to protect against. So in this case, the protocol here is HTTPS. So it's HTTPS, and the actual URL is shareicon.net. So in this case, all you want to do is pop in the following, okay? So protocol, HTTPS, hostname. Now, if you open this up, what you actually find is it says, found a change in Next.js, restarting the server to apply the changes. It doesn't always work though. So what I would recommend is you cut it and you run it again. You cut your server by doing Control-C. Command J to hide it. And now, if I refresh this page, it will stop with that error. So we can actually go ahead and do that. And right now we should see a Dropbox logo come into the top. But actually, if I was to go ahead and stop inverting it, you will see that that is a black icon, right? So I'm inverting it to be white. And then what I'm actually gonna do is the div that it's surrounded in, I'm gonna go ahead and give that the Dropbox blue. So I'm typing BG with the Dropbox blue, and I'm saying the width should fit. And now, just like that, boom, looks lovely, okay? Now for the link tag, I want the Dropbox and this to be centrally aligned. So what I do is I simply do flex. Now the default nature of flex is that two children go in line. So they basically go into a horizontal line and it puts them in like that. And now if you want to center this line, so for example right here, and I'm focusing on these two elements right here, I type in items, center, and you can see they centralize, right? Now this is obviously better, but they're too close to each other. So you space out your children by saying space x2. And obviously if I did 5, it'll make it bigger and so forth. Right, so now that's Flexbox is doing its magic. It's great, right? I have a whole video on Flexbox as well. If you want to check it out, you can go ahead and check that out as well. Okay, somebody says, will this use the app router? Because I've heard it's very buggy. The app router is not buggy. How you're using it is wrong. That's my honest advice. The app router is amazing. It's just people aren't using it correctly. Okay, let's go ahead and put a div. The second one, now this one is going to resemble the area where we have our theme toggler and we have the user button. Okay, now this part's actually really easy. So firstly, I'm going to add a little comment here so we don't forget about this. Right, in this case, I'm going to add a theme toggler there. I'm going to add in a user button. Okay, now remember the user button only appears if the user's signed in. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this in from Clerk right now. Boom, there you go. And I'm actually going to add in one more thing. I'm going to say control after sign out URL. You see this? After sign out URL. Basically, all I'm saying is if you were to sign out from the user button, I want you to go back to the home page every time. So simple as that. And you can see I'm signed in, so it's popped up there. Now I'm going to click sign out and I'm going to show you what happens. You see the user button's gone. Obviously, we need something to sign in, right? So in this case, what Clerk has done for us is it's given us these higher order components that we can use to conditionally easily render a component based on if you're signed in or signed out. And I'll make that super simple for you. All you need to do is pop a bracket out, say signed out. Now, 1 second, I did the wrong one. It's Clerk Next.js. Remember, be careful when you're importing these. It's not Clerk React, it's Clerk Next.js. Okay, now this is a higher order component which surrounds anything. Now, if I was to simply put a p tag saying signed out, yeah, you can see this is only showing when we're signed out, which is great. Right, so what I can actually do here is I can use the predefined sign in button from Clerk. You can see, go ahead and pop that in like so. And I can go ahead and say after the sign in URL, we're going to take you to /dashboard. And in fact, this can do two things. If I click this now, it will take me to a separate screen. That's cool, but I think we could do a little bit better than that. All right, so what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to say mode, I'm going to type in modal. Now, this is a really nice part. Just from that single attribute change, look what happens when I click this. Like guys, that's so clean. That is so clean and so quick. I didn't even have to do much in that sort of, that simple bit of code. And now we have a beautiful modal which pops up on our site. Amazing, right? I can go ahead and sign in with Google. Then it will take me to the Google sign-in screen. I click this and because I set the after sign-in URL, it will then take me to the dashboard. And as you can see, boom, I get my user profile. If I sign out, it will throw me back to the home screen where we have our sign in. So that is how simple it is to get our authentication up and running. The next step is, I'm going to obviously make this a little bit better. The padding on the x-axis around the sign in button, I want a bit of space. This is going to be a flex box with space between each component of 2. And I'm going to centrally align them on the y-axis. Okay, so there you go. So now if I have more than one thing there, it's going to go ahead and show. That's obviously going to make sense when I have the theme toggler. Okay, so Clerk is so convenient. Wow, I'm telling you, it's so amazingly clean and simple to get that working, okay? Next up, we're going to install Shadcn. Shadcn is an absolutely incredible, awesome UX library, UI UX library, but it's a little bit different because you're not typically installing a massive, dependency like how traditional libraries would have done. For example, Material UI and those things, and then you're using their predefined components. Shadcn is different. It's basically a tool which basically copies the code to your own code base, and it basically allows you to edit it however way you wish, and it's all based off Tailwind CSS. If none of what I said made sense there, I'll show you a live demo now and it'll make a lot of sense. Okay, so what I want you to do now is go to Shadcn, right? So shadcn.com. It's actually ui.shadcn.com. Now you're going to click on Getting Started, Introduction, Installation, and as you can see here, Next.js, and we've already done this first step. The next step is npx shadcn latest URL init, right? So you're going to copy this, and we're using npm, and I want you to go back, and all you're going to do, guys, is simply go ahead, and I'm going to move this out of the way and paste it in there. Okay, so easy to get this up and running. Would you like to use TypeScript? Yes. They've got two different styles. I'm just going to stick with the default, and I'm going to stick with the default base color of slate. You can feel free to mess it up yourself, right? Global CSS file, ours is already in the default location, so I'm going to hit enter. CSS variables, yes. Tailwind location, we haven't changed it, so it's normal. Alias at components is already set up for us by default, and then everything else is perfectly set up the way it is. Are we using React Server components? Yes, we are, and you can leave the default. So just hit enter on all of those things. And now what you will see is we have firstly a lib file where they've gone ahead and added in a helpful CN. This basically allows us to combine class names when we're sort of using a lot of their utilities and things like that. But now you probably wonder, nothing really happened. Well, the magic really happens when we come to use the elements out of Shadcn. So for example, if I wanted to now have a button, all we would have to do, guys, firstly, you can go ahead and use the fonts as well. Okay, so you can feel free to completely go through with all of this, right? But instead now, at this point, you can simply just move ahead. So for example, we may need this button, okay? So if I need a button now, all I do is copy this command. So I copy it, I go over to my code, and I want you to pay very close attention. So I simply run the command, and now watch what happens. It creates a component UI folder. Inside of it, it created a button. So now I have full control over the button they added to my project. So I can customize this button, and you can see the entire thing is built off of Tailwind CSS. Now to use this button is extremely simple. So if I went to my page, for example, the home screen, and I simply wanted to pop in my button, all I do now is I go ahead and do button, and I simply use it. And I can say, here is a demo button. And now you can see, look, here is a demo button. I can go ahead and type in variant, and they even have a bunch of different variants. So I can go ahead and use the outline variant. I can go ahead and use the ghost variant. And if I wanted an error, I can use the destructive variant, and so forth. So you can see, really effective, easy, simple solution to going ahead and getting things working. Right? Someone had a very valid question. They said, can you remove the watermarking from Clerk? Yes, you can. The free tier is actually very generous. I highly recommend you just stick with the free tier until you need to upgrade, because they have a very generous amount of of users that you can actually have on that plan. And now you can go ahead and get that set up. Somebody also said you now have a JS and a TS file config for Tailwind CSS. Yes, you're right. I actually have two right now, which you do not want to have. So in this case, you can actually go ahead and keep only the TypeScript file. I don't want to mess things up right now, but yes, you can. So in this case, let me just do a quick comparison. I'll show you how to resolve this. So first things first, you do a little quick check. So this is JS. Okay, so in this case, pages, components, source. What we can actually do is we can take this, we can go ahead and actually put it over there like so. The rest of the things inside of theme, what I can do with the theme is I can take the entire theme. Let's go ahead and get the entire theme. And I'm going to simply replace my entire theme like so, boom. And right now you can see it's freaking out a bit over these things. So we can go ahead and fix all of this afterwards, but right now I'm not too fussed about it, to be honest with you, right? For example, the height and so forth. So in this case, type number is not assignable to type string, so if you really want to correct it, you can do things like this and so forth, but I don't really want to go into this too much right now, right? So in this case, what I'm going to do is you can go ahead and address this yourself, but for now, to be honest, it's not extremely deep. what I can do is I can simply get rid of my TypeScript file, keep the JS file. It's very simple, okay? Everything will work the way we need it to, and I can simply go ahead and refresh. That's fine, okay? But you can feel free to resolve that on your own, okay? So, not visible, it's only the screen. Oh my God, sorry guys, I completely hid the screen. My bad. Okay, so in that case, what I was doing there is I simply just removed the Tailwind config TS file, okay? But if you want to keep the TypeScript file, you can keep the TypeScript file and just rename everything else accordingly, right? So nothing really changed beyond that. Good stuff. Marcus says, you're the man. Thank you so much. Quick little water break to keep me focused. Okay, guys, this is amazing, your retention. Absolutely appreciate you guys. I am sure that you're liking the pace today. I'm going to stick at this pace. Let me know in the comments right now if you like this, and simply smash that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Okay, so this is great. Let's carry on. So first things first, okay, is we're going to go ahead and actually install our theme. So I want that toggler set up from the beginning, and this is essentially dark mode. So I want you to click on dark mode in Shadcn, click on Next.js, and I want you to install Next themes. So that's our first step. We're going to go ahead and pop that in right now. Boom. Let's go Command J to pop it up. And we're simply going to go ahead and type in npm install next themes. Now I get it so much that you guys are watching right now and you are not subscribed, and I see you. There's so many of you that are watching and not subscribed. Just hit the subscribe button. Come on, hit that subscribe button and I'll carry on. Good. That's what I need you to do. Okay. I'm calling you out because some people watching, they're not subscribed. Just all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. Okay. Next things first, we need to create a theme provider. So very simple. All we're gonna do is go to our components, simply Command J to hide that bottom part. I'm actually gonna put my main components inside of the components folder, not in the UI folder. I'm leaving the UI folder for the Shadcn components, okay? But you can feel free to have it however you want. I'm gonna say theme provider.tsx, okay? Now I'm gonna copy the provider code that they've given us, and I want you to pay attention to this. Use client. By default, every component that we make inside of Next.js 13 and above is actually a server component by default, which means it's rendered on the server by default. And that gives us a lot of features, a lot of functionality. A lot of this stuff is covered on my channel, and we also cover it inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. First link in the description. We're running an absolutely massive Black Friday sale and Cyber Monday sale for this entire week. So you can feel free to go check it out. But back to the code. If we ever see this use client, it means that we're converting this component to a client component. Which means we can do things like, you know, add interactive elements and so forth. But we need to do that because we need to actually know on the user's machine what theme they have, dark mode, light mode, and so forth. Okay, so with that in check, we're now going to go ahead and go down, and all we need to do is wrap our theme provider with the appropriate setup around our children inside of our app. So what I want you to do here is head over to your layout.tsx. Very, very simple. Okay, head out to your layout.tsx, and I want you to go ahead and underneath the body right here, I want you to wrap everything just like so. Okay, and I want you to do control spacebar components. There you go. And you can see attribute class, default theme, system. Now notice how attribute class, it falls in line with my dark mode in my Tailwind config. Okay, so those two have to align up for this to work. The default theme is a system. So if you have dark mode set up just like me, by default, your app is going to be in dark mode. Okay. Now you can see a bit of an issue here. Let's go ahead and refresh, and we can't see anything has changed yet. Okay. So I'll show you how we go ahead and get this set up in a second. But next thing you want to do is add a toggle. Now they've actually made it so easy. I actually love the toggle that they have. It pretty much sets it all up for us. The only thing we need to do is install the drop down menu. So first things first, I want you to copy this bit of code, and we're going to go ahead and create a component to go ahead and house this. So we're going to call this one, if we click on the theme provider, so we're at that level, we're going to type in theme toggler. Right, so you can say dark mode toggler or anything like that. I love this song, such a tune. Theme toggler.tsx, and we're going to paste in that example code like so. And you can see we haven't installed the drop down menu. Okay, so again, if you're, I'm showing you from scratch, so you can do this yourself, make it very easy. Simply go to the drop down menu on the left hand side, go ahead and do npx, copy this command, and you can simply pop it in like so. It's very easy to use this stuff. Okay, go ahead and pop it in, and this will literally add it into our component library. So you can see it drop down menu, and you can see the error is now gone. Just like that, we have a theme toggler. Okay, so now I've got my theme toggler. I can simply go over to, and I'm actually going to rename this to theme toggler. Okay, then I'm going to go over to my header, And inside of my header now, where we had our comment, I'm simply going to go ahead and pop in theme toggler and import it like so. Okay, now just by doing that, guys, you can now see I have a theme toggler. And if I click on dark, look at that. Super clean. Super clean, 10 likes away from 200 likes. Let's go, smash that like button. Somebody says, watching from Benin all the way from West Africa. That is what I'm talking about. Amazing, amazing stuff. Someone's also asking, what is that little kind of, what is that little auto suggestion that's popping up? That is called GitHub, it's called Copilot, okay? So in this case, we've got our beautiful light and dark mode set up. Now, if I want to customize anything on my app for light mode or dark mode, you can simply do so by simply saying, so in a regular styling situation, we can say text should be, let's just say red 500. Okay, so it's red 500, but you see that applies whether it's light mode or dark mode. So if I wanted it to be in dark mode, text blue 500, now what you will notice, normally it's text red, but if I go into dark mode, that becomes blue. So this is how you can style based on dark mode specific options. Very simple to use, and I hope that makes a lot of sense. If it did, all you gotta do is smash that like button. All right, quick little water break, and then we're gonna move on. We're actually doing amazingly well right now, okay? We're gonna step things up pretty fast. Your retention today is absolutely incredible. I'm so impressed. It's actually nuts. And we're about to smash over 300 likes. That's what I'm talking about, guys. All right, so next step, we are gonna go ahead and set up this front screen. In fact, yeah, we can do this. The front screen is very quick. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a very quick setup now. Now, I don't need you to hyper obsess over the look, the theming, all that good stuff. In this case, we're simply gonna have a very, very simple setup. Okay, firstly, I'm gonna start off by adding a disclaimer at the bottom to showcase that this is absolutely made for informational educational purposes. We don't have anything to do with Dropbox. Okay, this is a tutorial, right? So proceed at your own risk. Okay, we have whatever you do with this, that's up to you. Okay, so next after that, we're gonna go ahead and add a div, and this div is going to be for this section right here. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna have another div inside. I'm gonna have an H1, and this will simply say, welcome to Dropbox, with a very subtle bit of styling. Okay, like so. Welcome to Dropbox. Storing everything for you and your business needs all in one place. Very simple. Okay, now for this div, I'm going to style it a little bit. I'm going to give it a padding of 10. I'm going to say it's a flex box. It's going to be flex column align, and we're simply going to give it a background color, and that background color is going to change in dark mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop this in right now, like so. Now you can see it's got a background color, and we square brackets to use the just-in-time compiler for Tailwind, and that means that we can actually add in any color, and in the compile time, it will go ahead and add that into our configuration. The dark mode is going to have a different color, so you can see, look, slightly changes the background color in these different settings. And then we're going to go ahead and space out the children inside. But to be honest, that doesn't really make a difference because we're not going to have much in there. Actually, I haven't added the next bit in. The reason why that makes a difference is because I have a P tag underneath, which has a padding on the bottom of it, and it simply says enhance your personal blah blah blah. All right, so it just got a bunch of text in there. And that's basically this area. And then after that, we're going to have a button which will say try it for free. So this button right here, try it for free. This is simply going to be a link tag from Next.js, right? It's going to be a link tag. This is going to have a href, which takes us to our dashboard, so / dashboard. And inside of here, all we're going to say is try it for free, like so. Okay, after that, I'm going to add a arrow. Now notice how I've got all these different things called Lucid React. This is actually included when we go ahead and set up Shadcn. Okay, so we're going to simply use an arrow, right? And I'm just simply going to say class name margin left of 10 pixels. Okay, if I don't add this in, I'll show you what happens first. Okay, oops. So you want to make it a self-closing component. You can see try it for free, like so. Okay, now first thing I want to do is, before I add that margin left, I want to give this a bit of styling. Now there's two children here without realizing. The first is the text, the second is the arrow. By doing flex, you can see they go into the same line. Then what I can say is, I can say that the that the arrow right should have a margin left of 10. And you can see it pushes away from it a little bit. Then I want to style it to make it look like a button. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this button should be should have a cursor pointer when I hover over it. The background should be blue. And I want to give it a little bit of padding to go ahead and make it look great. And now you can see, look at that. If I click it, it takes me to our / dashboard, which is obviously gated and protected. And that allows us to go ahead and Yeah, so you see that's working perfectly. Right, great, great stuff. Now, if I go ahead and I just want to log in so we can get past this little protection. So let's go ahead and log in right now to my account. We're doing amazing on this front right now, guys. We've got more and more viewers tuning in. That is what I'm talking about. Amazing stuff. Watching from the Philippines. This is awesome. I know someday I'll be touching around this and I want to learn a lot from you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go back to our home screen. Now you can see, look, we can navigate super fast when we're authenticated. Okay, great stuff. Now we're going to add in the icing on the cake, which is where we have our div right here. I'm going to have another div underneath it. And this is actually going to contain a video. And this video I've simply got from Dropbox themselves. It's just from the homepage. Again, it's all for demo purposes, right? So I'm going to add a video in. It's auto playing. The controls aren't showing. I'm looping it. I'm muting it. It should have rounded corners. And this is just a video from their homepage, okay? And you can see all it is. It's a very nice video, actually, right? But right now you can see it simply just popped in like so. That doesn't look that clean, right? So what I want to do is I want this to actually be a little bit more, beautiful. I want it to be on the big screen on the right hand side. So if you notice on the main app, on the right hand side on this screen is perfectly on the side. When it gets smaller, only then will it shift underneath. So we're going to do the same concept here. And I'm going to make this seem very, very simple, okay? So all we need to do is start this div. We're going to say div class name, give it a background color. And for dark mode, I'm going to give it a different background color. I've done the styling for you, so it's very easy. Just follow along. Okay, now you can see a bit of padding as well. On the dark mode, it actually looks pretty clean, right? It's got this like kind of invisible border, whereas here it melts into the background of the video. Amazing stuff, guys. Just broke 300 likes. That's what I'm talking about. Let's keep going. I think we're gonna get like 500,000 likes. Let's see. We'll get there. Easy as, right? Looks really good. Now what I want to do is I want to address that issue. So I want this to be on the right hand side, and only on the smaller screens will it get to the point of looking the other way that we said. So first things first, this div right here. So for this div, I'm going to say flex. Now notice what happens. On a flex, naturally the children go side by side. Now that's okay, but look what happens on a small screen. It looks like crap, right? So what you need to do is whenever you're using Flexbox, whenever you're using Tailwind CSS, by default, those utility classes, the things that I'm writing like flex column, P10, all that stuff is called a utility class. All it is doing is it's translating that Tailwind CSS to regular CSS in the form that it can be understood by a machine. If I hover over it, you'll see P10 translates to this right here. Flex translates to, oh no, that's not gonna work. Flex column translates to this and so forth, okay? Great stuff. We just hit an hour mark, doing very well on timing. Now, what I want you to understand is everything is mobile first. That means that everything I add here is mobile first for styling. So if I type in flex column, you will see it will drop to the bottom. So this is because a flex column means everything's stacked up like a kind of on a horizontal line. Okay. Now what I can do is I can say, okay, it's flex column, but when we hit a large screen, then it will turn into flex row. And you have these things called breakpoints, like small, medium, large, extra large, 2XL, and so forth, right? In this case, I'm gonna say when we hit the large screen, I need you to go into a flex row. Now, let's see what happens, right? And this is the magic of breakpoints. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and make it bigger, and boom, look at that. On a large screen, it goes in a line. That is so sick, right? It looks really clean. Okay, so everything's looking good. Now what I want you to do is neaten it up, right? So what we're naturally going to do is we're going to say items should be centrally aligned. And if I hit save, I haven't hit saved yet, but you will see there it's not centrally aligned. If I hit save, boom, it goes into the center. Okay. Then all I need to do to make it seamless is go ahead and add in the background colors. Okay. So if I add in the background colors after this, boom, just like that now. Look at that. If I go ahead and make it light, oh, absolutely beautiful. Right, so you can see fully responsive, super easy to go ahead and get this working the way we want it. Someone says, is this live or is this stream recorded? It's live. There you go. So in this case, we've got our home screen done. This looks absolutely beautiful. I'm happy with that. Okay, so we've got this down to a T. Next up, we're going to go ahead and click into our dashboard. This is where the main Dropbox magic is happening. We're doing amazing at this point. This is where really I need you to focus in, zone in, and this is where we're going to go ahead and build the cool part. So I'm going to sign into the main app. Okay, I'm going to sign into the main app. My AC is very high right now. And you can see this is what we're going to build. So right now, get excited because we're going to build drag and drop functionality. We're going to have sorting functionality. We're going to have this beautiful skeleton though that you see right here. We're going to have the ability for modals. We're going to even use global state management such as Zustand. So Zustand is going to allow us to have global state management. We're going to have a delete modal, and you're going to be able to go ahead and access all of these files accordingly. So we've got so much ahead of us. It's really exciting, and we're already doing amazing with the retention and stuff like that. If you're following along, this is the time to have a quick little water break. All right, remember, this is not a sprint. We're going to go ahead and do this at a really nice pace. Awesome stuff, guys. I'm going to go ahead and change the music up a little bit as well. Okay. So, jump into it. So, for the dashboard, I'm going to go ahead and go to our dashboards right here. Let me know if the screen is at a good screen size and everything like that. So, we're going to go into our dashboard. Sometimes I will show you so you can visually see which file I'm going in. Somebody goes, smash that like button to cure Sunny's cough. Thank you so much, dude. Yeah, honestly, I need that help, right? So a few things. Now, this is a server component rendered by default. So if I want to get access to the user's ID, which I will need at some point, we can actually use something called the auth object in Clerk, right? So in this case, what I can do is I can show you very simply. If I go ahead and import auth from Clerk Next.js, and they have lots of helpers inside of Clerk. I really want to show this and demonstrate this to you. But if we go ahead and actually click into, hey, look at that, lovely confetti. If I go into, where is it? The simple part, all the user authentication, you can see all of our stuff. Okay, here you go. Yeah. You can actually see we've got a lot of different things like read user and session data. You can see server side, app routers, and so forth. And they've got all of the examples and things like that. Okay. So you can actually go ahead and it's very, very good. And it tells you how you can use the use auth hook on client side and so forth. But in this case, I'm just going to show you myself to make it super easy. All we need to do here is we can say const user ID, oops, equals auth. No, don't do that. Auth. Okay, and then from here, if I do control spacebar, you can see I've got all these other things, including the full user object, the session ID, and so forth as well. Now, to demonstrate that this actually works, we can say user is user ID, some JSX, boom, just like that. User is this user. So you can see we're actually signed in. Everything's working great. Okay. Now I just want to stop here for 1 second and say again, if you find any of this stuff difficult at any point, guys, remember we are running a massive sale on our flagship course, Zero to Full Stack Hero, and this is the ultimate time where you can go ahead and join and actually save up to 50% off. So all you need to do is head over to popularreact.com/course. This is where we go ahead and teach everything that you're seeing today. Imagine weekly coaching calls where I myself am running through these exact concepts at a deep level. Okay, so these are examples of our coaching calls. You can feel free to see some of our students themselves. Guys, we've cracked the formula on how to get students jobs, how to go ahead and get them to level up their skill set. All you need to do is scan that QR code on the screen that you see on my right, or go to popularreact.com/course. I'm telling you because I do not want you to miss out on this. It's the ultimate time to go ahead and join and save up to 50% off. Feel free to check it out, right? First link in the description. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue on. Somebody asked how I get this. This is simply an extension called file size. Okay, so we got the dashboard open. This song is kind of annoying now. These are all like aggressive songs. I'm gonna go back to my simple songs. Okay, carry on. We're almost at 500 likes. Let's keep smashing that like button. Okay, so first things first is I actually need to go ahead and let's set up our drop zone firstly. Okay, so the drop zone, we're actually using something called React Dropzone. So I want to show you the whole thought process behind this. You want to Google React Dropzone and it's this first one that pops up, right? So here, so we're going to do npm install save React Dropzone. Command J, pop that in like so. Not a cough, nothing will stop me from absolutely smashing this build. Okay, so we've got this, and then we can go ahead and set things up. Now, what I want you to do is there's different ways of setting it up, right? You can either do the approach where you have this is a functional component approach where you're just using regular components and injecting props inside of them, or we can use the one where we've actually got a more, I guess it's kind of easier to understand example. For example, where is it? Where have I done this? I've done it where it's drop zone component. So if we go to the basic example above, there is an example where it shows us the drop zone component. So we have this example right here. Okay. Yep, this one right here. So what I want you to do here is, I'm getting super confused. Yeah, I want you to go ahead and just copy this example. Okay, I'm going to copy this example and we're going to create a Dropzone component. So I want you to go to your components, type in dropzone.tsx. We're going to paste. Very simple. Okay, we actually don't need to import React like so. And you can see here, right? Now, if I was to go ahead and show you this, right, in our app. So if we go to our page, dashboard, and I'm going to put in the Dropzone component here. Dropzone, just like so. Now, first things first, I believe this needs to be a client component as well. So heading back over to our Dropzone, at the top, very important that you say use client. Okay, and you can see use ref only works in client components. That's completely fine. I've actually, oh, sorry, I've done such a silly thing here. Do not do what I just did. Do not do what I just did. Go back. Do RFCE, firstly, Dropzone, and then that example that I showed you previously, this one right here, you want to pop this inside of the return block. Made a very silly example mistake there, and you want to import the Dropzone from React Dropzone, okay? Like so, and this needs to be a client component. Now, this is clashing because our file is called Dropzone, so all I'm going to do here is rename the default import to Dropzone component, like so. Hit refresh, and now we will go ahead and get this working the way that you need to. So use client directive at the top of the file to use it. Yes, we are good. Sometimes it can be a bit buggy, so you want to cut your terminal, run it again, hit the refresh button, and let's go back to our app. And now use ref only, add the use client directive at the top of the file. I've done this. I don't understand what's going on. Let's go back to my let's go back to our dashboard. I want to check something. Okay, so Dropzone from React. Okay, there we go. There's the mistake. Okay, so when you import this, import your components version of it. Okay, there we go. And now you can see drag and drop some files or click. So you can see that, right? So, okay, got all my files out. So in that case, you can see if I click it, it does that. Or if I open up a separate, so for example here, I've just got a list of thumbnails. Okay, so in this case, these are a bunch of different thumbnails. So if I want to go ahead and just put in a Dropbox thumbnail or Dropbox clone, and I drag it over, you see if I go ahead and pop that in, nothing is really happening right now. Okay, so nothing's really happening right now. So what I'm going to do instead is go ahead and show you how we can actually get this set up in the exact way that we want it. Okay, so if I go ahead and say Dropzone, now what we can do is this section right here is where we actually have some of the magic. So what we actually have it is a few interesting things that we can go ahead and pull from the, where is it? This right here. So get root props, get input props. And if I do comma, control spacebar, you can see I got a lot more. Is drag active, is drag accept, is drag reject, and so forth. The ones I care about are actually these three. Okay. Now what I can do is I can change the look and feel of everything to be the correct way. So what I want you to do is, when we have this Peter, I'm going to get rid of all of that. I'm going to pop in the following. Okay, the input and is file too large. And I'll show you what I'm doing by is file too large. What I'm going to say is, firstly, I'm going to say that the max file size for uploading is 20 megabytes. Okay, so we can do that by determining the number of bytes. So that represents 20 megabytes in bytes. Okay, next thing is I'm actually going to set the max size over here. So on drop is fine. I'm actually going to say min size is 0. So we can't obviously put anything less than that. And max size, I'm going to put in our max size const right there. Okay. Now, is the file too large? I'm going to have a simple check here, which just simply checks if the file that I've selected, see file rejection, sorry. If the file is, if the file that I've selected is bigger than the max size, then we want to reject it. So what I do is you see here we have an implicit return. Put curly braces around it, put a return block there, and you can now have your code here. So I can now say, okay, just check, is the file too large? And we're checking any rejections that came through. And we're saying if that's too big, then it's not going to work. It will be rejected if it's too big because it will not abide with our max size rule. Okay, so next thing you know, that's awesome stuff. Okay, so next thing you know, now if I was to drop a file over it, we've got our nice things like, look, is drag active. and if not is drag active, and if it's not rejected, then it's so forth. So now if I was to drag my Dropbox clone over it, oh, look at that, look, oh, nice. Yeah. And when I drop it, what we will see is we're console logging the file out. So in this case, accept console log the accepted file. So let's go ahead and give this a full demo right now so you can see. Ignore this. This is simply a extension that I have, which is super annoying, and I should have deactivated it before this tutorial, but that's on me. In this case, I'm simply going to go ahead and open up my files. 1 second, I'm going to hide the screen for a second. So I'm pulling up my thumbnails right now. These are just thumbnails from YouTube. And if I go ahead and take the Dropbox clone and I pop it in like here, right, what I want to show you is pay attention to this area. So I'm going to drag it, drop it. Look at that file. Boom. We have the file there. So now I can do something with that file. Okay. And the same thing applies if I upload like 3 files and so forth, right? So if I was to take, you know, a couple of these, for example, this one, for example, this one, and I drag and drop them, boom, you can see 3 files. Okay. So this is the logic behind it. Now, with that in mind, it also works if I click it. Okay. So very, very simply, that is how we get the drag and drop. Now I'm going to style it to make it look way nicer than that. And we're going to do it in a really cool way. So where we have the div with the get root props, we need to expand it, say class name. Now, remember that lib that we actually introduced earlier? The one that allows us, this allows us to easily combine different class names. So what I actually want you to do here is I'm going to say cn. I'm going to import that from our lib utilities. And I'm going to go ahead and pop in a bit of styling. So the first thing is some base styling. So I'm going to say, okay, this styling always needs to be there. So you can see that right now. This styling always needs to be there. Very simple, elegant. If I do light mode, you can see it's just a very basic bit of styling. Okay. Next up, I'm going to give everything around it a margin 4. I don't want it to touch the sides. So that kind of gives us a nice kind of, you know, surrounded look. Yo, Aaron's in the house. What's up? I see you. That was fast. So in this case, we've got the class name going. So now what I want you to do is if you're dragging over the drag and drop box, I simply need you to go ahead and customize the Tailwind utility classes that get applied. So firstly, what I do is, it's so easy when you use CN, the utility library. All you need to do is go ahead, comma, second argument. And this is basically where you say is drag active. And you can see that it's already trying to guess what I want, right? So this is known as a ternary operator. So a ternary operator is very simple. It just means, for example, if I just put it very simple like this, if that is true, then this is the true condition. Else, so the little colon resembles an else. So this is if that is true, then apply this condition, else apply this condition. So very simply then, all I do is I say, okay, if you've hovered over it and it's, you know, it's true, apply this styling right here. Otherwise, I want you to apply the styling that is basically regular when it's not there. Right, so if I go ahead and pop this in like so, boom, you can see now when it's actively being dragged over, it should turn blue, the text should turn white, and it should post. And that, with that in mind, now, super simply, I don't know why I keep closing the bloody Finder. 1 second. Let's go ahead and pop that in right now, boom. Okay, so you can see now the Dropbox clone. Look at this. If I drag over it, look at that. It's so clean. Look at that, super, super clean. And just like that, you've got an amazing drag and drop box. Yeah, and the same thing applies even if I have, you know, the light mode applying. Look at this, boom. Super, super slick. So if you learned something new there, smash that like button. We're almost at 500 likes. Okay, so really, really clean. Okay, my face just blew up on my screen. Okay, let's go ahead and put this out. So simply done. That's how you get it done, right? So that is already our drag and drop box looking clean. And you can see right now, we're eventually going to get to this point where we have the rest of the drag and drop table and all that good stuff. But that's the basic essence of where we go ahead and start from the uploading functionality. So before we go ahead and render out these files and so forth, we now need to think about it logically. All we need to do, oh, Jamie goes, that's the OG sunny face. What's up, Jamie? Good to see you in the house, right? So now this is where we can go ahead and start introducing Firebase. We can start introducing Firebase storage. Essentially, all we're going to do is when you drag that file into that Dropbox, it's going to go ahead and upload it to a Firebase storage bucket. And we're going to have that in a perfectly neat way done. Once it's done that, it's going to go ahead and actually get the download URL from that bucket, and it's going to add it to Firestore. So that way we've got a nice collection of all of our files in Firestore. And then we've got download URLs, which are appended, which correlates to the Firebase storage bucket. Sounds easy, right? It is actually really easy. I'll make it super simple, okay? So first thing we're gonna do is we have the upload post functionality. So in this case, let's go ahead and just jump into it. So where we've got on drop, I'm going to go ahead and create a function. So right now I've just got an inline function, which just sucks, is crap. So we're going to go ahead and say const on drop. This is going to be an arrow function, like so. And all I want you to do is basically go ahead and say that, you know, whatever files we pop in here, we're going to call them the accepted files. And all this is a regular file type. So TypeScript helps us out here. And it's an array of normal files. Okay, so remember when I dropped in, I had like 1 file, 7 files, however many it was. And all I need to do here is basically create, I'm going to loop through each of the files that we go ahead and upload. So if I uploaded 1 file, it's going to loop through 1 file. If I uploaded 5 files, it's going to upload through 5 files and so forth. Okay. Emmanuel says he explains every line. Oh, I love you guys. Look at this. Bro is too good at teaching Tailwind. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Jamie, as well. The build is fire. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right. So in this case, I'm going to loop through. So I'm going to say accepted files dot for each. Right. So for each, because map is essentially when we want to return something. For each is when we want to functionally do something every time I loop through them. Okay. So in this case, we've got the file. I'm going to loop through each one. And all I'm going to do is each time I'm going to create an instance of a file reader. So this will allow me to basically start to read through those files and do whatever I need to do. Now, the way that readers work is they have internal functions like on abort, on error, on load. And simply put, all we have to go ahead and do is tap into those functions. So that way we can basically say when, you know, if for whatever reason the file reading failed, we know what to do and so forth. So the 2 simple edge cases are if it was aborted or if there was an error, handle them. And right now we're just doing console log. You can really go ahead and add a toaster notification or whatever you want. The one we're interested is actually the on load. Okay, so once that file is loaded, I want to go ahead and have an asynchronous and like an async await upload post. Obviously I don't have this function created yet. We're going to create it. And then finally, the last one is we're going to say read as an array buffer. Okay. Now I don't actually think we use this one. Oh no, we do use this one. It's fine. Okay. So at this point, now I want you to go ahead and once it reads it, this will get triggered off. Okay. So we need to create an upload post file. I need a quick water break. But guys, absolutely incredible stuff. Thank you for tuning in. We've still got a little bit to go. Not a little bit. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's quite a bit to go actually. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this file, this function right now. So we're going to say const upload post equals async, right? And this is going to be a selected file. So in this case, selected file. Thank you so much. That's exactly the comment I was waiting for. Manish says, imagine how he must be explaining in the Popular React course if he explains like this on YouTube for free. Honestly, couldn't have said it better. That's exactly what it's like in Zero to Full Stack Hero. First link in the description. Do not miss out. Imagine if I've got hours with you guys on coaching calls. The level of depth I go is nuts. Okay, so we've got the selected file, and this is the one right here. Okay, so now this is where we do the upload functionality. Okay, very simple. All I'm going to say now is I actually want to have a singleton pattern. So what I actually want to do is trigger a loading like state. So what I'm going to say is at the top of the file, I'm simply going to go ahead and have a piece of state. So simple React state here. I go ahead and show this in a separate video. You can feel free to check it out. What we're going to say is use state, and this is going to start off with a false value. Now, all this is doing, and if you can really want, you can cast this to a Boolean like so, but it implicitly will get that value based on this. So if I hover over it, based on the first value you give it, will determine its data type as well. Unless you have a specific data type that you want to go ahead and cover, then you put in the brackets. Otherwise, honestly, inferring is okay sometimes. Okay. So in this case, loading. Now here, I'm simply going to say, if it's loading, return. And the reason why I'm doing this is because say, for example, you spam that button. Yeah. I don't want you to upload like 10 versions of that image or file or whatever it is. Okay. So I'm going to have a little block here, which says set loading true. And then if it's, and then after we've done everything, so I'll do what needs to be done, blah, blah, blah. And oops. And then we set loading to false. Okay. And then that way, it only runs this through once, does what it only needs to be done once, and that's a lot easier. Okay, the next thing is I need access to the user. This is important because I need the user's ID for the next step that I'm about to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, because we're in a client component, I'm going to use a use hook, right? So a use user hook. So this one right here, we're going to import this from Clerk /Next.js. Now you can only, every time you see use hook, use state, use effect, these are all, sorry, I didn't show my code there, but you can see for yourself there. right? Every time I go ahead and show like, you know, use hook, use state, these are all client components. I stress this. You cannot ever use a hook inside of a server component. It's not possible. It just does not work. And there's reasons for that, which I explained in depth in other videos, but you need access to the browser to use a hook. Simple as, okay? So use user. Now we've got the user right here. And all I'm going to do is simply put a check in saying if the user, if there is no user, return. Okay, and I'm doing this because I want to check the user ID for something, okay? Now, what I can do is, once I've gone ahead and done this, I can actually do the upload step. So this is where the interesting thing happens. So now we need to set up Firebase. We need to pause here for a second and we need to go ahead and do this. Yo, this is awesome. Nermal says, yo, Sonny, I'm currently in the final year of my college and I got the job as a full stack developer. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Amazing stuff. Jay, screenshot that. That is awesome. Great to hear. That's what we want to hear, right? So next thing you know, I want to go to firebase.google.com. Now they actually recently updated the UI, so don't get freaked out. But you want to click on go to console. Simply all you need is a Google account to get started. Then what I need you to do is click on add project. Now here you're going to type in Dropbox clone, YouTube. That's what I'm calling it. You feel free to call it whatever you want. Click on OK. I'm going to disable Google Analytics. I'm going to click create project. This is going to house all of the backend things that we're talking about. This is going to house our database called the Firestore database, and it's also going to house the Firebase storage. You can feel free to rebuild this with Azure or AWS or whatever backend you want, but I'm doing it with Firebase. It's a very good service. I love it. It's so easy to use. And yeah, I'm going to show you just how simple it is. Okay. Also, genuine apologies for this cough. I can't kick it. It's come from a good reason, but it's all good. But yeah, it's super annoying. All right, so in this case, we've got build. Let's go ahead and click Firestore. And we need to set up our Firebase instance. Okay, then I'll show you how simple it is to connect this to our Next.js application. So you want to click on create Firebase database. Then I want you to go ahead and make sure it's Firestore, not the real-time database. Two different things. Location. Okay, United States, fine. I don't care. Click on enable. Now here, start in production mode, start in test mode. Feel free to click whatever you want. In this case, I'm just going to click test mode. In my previous video, I went over some Firebase rules. I will make a dedicated video on Firebase rules though. Okay, but for now, we're just doing test mode. It's not the primary concern of today's video. Okay, now I was getting a bit of errors last time this happened, but hopefully today it's all smooth. Okay, we're going to click start in test mode. And now, just like that, we have our Cloud Firestore. Now I want you to go into your rules, and just for simplicity's sake, so you guys don't run into some interesting situations, I want you to click allow, read, and write. And I want to click publish. Okay, so this will allow us to go ahead. Anyone can actually read or write from this database. It's not ideal. You should be implying a simple check which checks if the user is authenticated. They should be only able to access their own user ID, but I will create a dedicated video on that. If you want to learn more about that, check out my SaaS video that I made previously before. Jenai says, Sonny is absolutely the best. Thank you. Can't thank you enough for these live YouTube tutorials. I appreciate you, dude. All else is you destroy that like button to go ahead and get the algorithm flying. Okay, so in this case, here we have our NoSQL style database. That's step one. All right, cool. Next up, we go to our storage. So click on storage over here, click on get started. And again, simple. I'm going to click on start in test mode next, and you can set a location. I'm going to click on done. And it will create something called a storage bucket. This allows us to store images, audio, video, without any of the server-side kind of rubbish or any of that stuff. It's very easy to use. Okay, what's up, Sonny? I love your videos. I love you guys. I appreciate you all as well. Thank you for tuning in. All right, this won't take too long. And then after this, we need our configuration. That will allow us to connect our Next.js app to this. And then we're running, guys. Then we're going to fly with this build, and we're going to build out everything that you saw in the first demo. Okay, absolutely incredible retention. I cannot stress that enough. Productivity, yeah, that's a very good idea, actually. Jay, write that one down. So in this case, here we have our storage buckets. So here's the aim of the game. We're going to upload our images here in a very nice format. Then we're going to have reference to all of it over here. So basically, we upload the image here in a really nice kind of nested way. Then I get the download URL for this stored file, and I save it inside of our Firestore database. Very simple, okay? First things first, click project settings at the top. Go down here, click on this little icon to set up a web app. And then here you can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to decide Dropbox, clone, YouTube, like so. Click register app. You don't need to set up Firebase hosting. We're using Vercel today to go ahead and do this. Salem says, you are the best, watching from Canada. Love you guys. Honestly, absolutely appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for the kind words. right? So in this case, I'm going to install Firebase into my project. So Command J, pull this up, boom, pop that in. Then I need you to go ahead and copy this part. So really don't care about the rest of it. I kind of need you just to take the Firebase config, okay? So at this point, what I want you to do is go ahead into your folders like so, go to package.json, so you're at the top level, create a firebase.ts file. Okay, and I want you to go ahead and put in the following. So I actually need a bunch of different imports. These are all helper functions to go ahead and help us get access to what we need. But the main thing is I'll make it very simple for you. We're going to go ahead and copy this Firebase config, pop this in like so. And now what we're going to do is a few different things. Now, the first thing is, because we're messing with Next.js, Next.js can sometimes go ahead and initialize sort of two things in one go. Now, I'm not going to get into it, but the point is when you server render a certain page, it might have already pre-initialized sort of our app or database object. We need to check if it already did that. So very simply, all we do is we go ahead and say const app equals get apps.length. And basically what this will do is if it's already initialized an app, there will be a value here. And we basically say if there isn't, so if there is more than one, so if there is a value here, then we're going to get that app. Otherwise, we're going to initialize it from scratch. This is called a singleton pattern. It just means that you're going to initialize it once and not like 5 times, because that could cause some sporadic behavior, which we don't want. Now, using this app, we're going to go ahead and get access to all the other things that we need, such as the database, the auth, and so forth. We're not actually using Firebase Cloud Functions today, so we can get rid of that. But the ones that we're interested in is the database, the auth object. We don't actually even need the auth object, to be fair. We just need the database and the storage, right? So in this case, I can actually clean my code up a little bit, get rid of it, and we always like clean code, okay? Then what I want you to do is go ahead and export all of the things that we are going to use. So we're going to go ahead and export DB and storage, okay? And this is basically going to allow us to interact with the database from our front end, okay? So good stuff. Next up, now that we've got a way to communicate with our database, I can now go ahead and proceed on with the rest of what I was doing. So we go back to our Dropzone, and this is where the real magic is going to happen, right? So pay attention now, okay? So the music is perfect for this because you need to focus a little bit, right? So when we go ahead and drag and drop into our Dropzone, when we drag the file in here, we're basically going ahead, this gets triggered, and we need to make sure they actually gets triggered by going ahead and doing the following on drop, right? This will go ahead and pass the file in. The accepted files come through here. We map through all of the accepted files, and we go ahead and upload the post once it's loaded. So at this point, we have our singleton pattern, which prevents us from spamming that button like 10 times, hence the set loading. And then we need to go ahead and do the magic stuff here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a document to a specific route inside of our database. Now, the document route that we're going to go ahead and have is something like this. It's going to be users / it's going to be a collection of users. And imagine the user's ID was user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then what we do is we go ahead and go into that, and we go into the user's files. And what I need to do is I want to go ahead and add a document to this location. Okay. So this is essentially what we're about to do. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do that. So what we do is we say const, we get a document ref as a result after we've successfully added it. We're doing an await. So our function needs to be an asynchronous call. This is all about promises, asynchronous kind of working inside of JavaScript, which I have got videos on. Feel free to check them out. And then we're going to type in add doc. Right now, I need you to pay attention to this. So this is something from Firebase version 9. They use a modular approach. Now we can use this helper file called add doc to go ahead and actually get things set up. So this add doc, we need to pass it a few things. Firstly, we pass it the database that we're actually accessing. I already set this up with the Firebase configuration file, which we just went into. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and in a staggered approach now, we go ahead and actually pass in, sorry, I made a mistake here. We actually go ahead and say collection. Right, so you have to either say collection or document. So in this case, the collection, and I need to import this from Firebase. So in this case, you can see that. Now the collection takes a path, right? So the Firestore path. You see, the first one is the Firebase instance. So this is actually our database. The second one is the path in which we're going to push our items to, right? So in this case, it's very, very simple. All we do is we can go ahead and do, I'm going to say users, then I'm going to say user ID, and then I'm going to say file, okay? Like just like this. And then after the collections are outside of these brackets, we do a comma, and you can see it's the next part is the data that we actually intend to pass in. So at this point now, I'm going to pass in a few different values. Okay, so here's what we need. The user ID, I'm going to save. The file name is the selected file name. That could be basically whatever the file was called when we drag and dropped it in, that's what the file is going to be called. The user's full name, the profile image of the user, and a timestamp. Now the timestamp, we always want to use this server's timestamp. You might be in London, India, USA, wherever you are in the world. I'm in Dubai. We have different time zones. So we want to make sure that our time zones are consistent with each other. So if we all use the server timestamp, then we all get a consistent timestamp. And then what we can do is on the front end, we can always localize it. So it shows it in Dubai. If you're in Dubai, it shows you in London, and if you're in London, and so forth. But the origin timestamp should be the server's timestamp. Luckily, Firebase gives us a very nice helper function, which we can go ahead and pull in to make sure we have the server. Oh, also, very good question. Somebody says you should be using converters, right? Yes. If I expand this build, you can use converters. What I would highly recommend is a little challenge. This is a beginner tutorial, so I'm not going to use converters for this one. But if you want to go ahead and take a little challenge here, what I recommend is from my SaaS build, I taught you how to use Firebase converters to successfully and type safely go ahead and access your data and make sure it's in the correct way. That would really work well here, but I'm going to leave that to you to implement yourself. Okay, so check out my SaaS build for a tutorial on that, or check out Zero to Full Stack Hero where I teach you how to do that as well. Next thing we need is the selected file type and the selected file size. So that will tell us how big that file is and so forth, okay? This will literally add it to the database now. So this will add it to Firestore. So just that bit of code now would add it into here. So we'll have users, the file, and so forth. But that's not all, guys. What I want to then go ahead and do is I want to get an image. I want to store it to the Firebase Firebase storage over here. So the first line did that. The second line, I want to create a reference to store it here. Now the reference is very simple. What I'm going to do is once I've uploaded this file, I'm going to get an ID back from docref. Okay. Now again, you can go ahead and upgrade this to make it one single transactional sort of line of code, which would mean that if any of this failed, it would roll back. But I haven't done that today, but you can do that. Yeah. Again, we got to cut something in these builds. But now what I can say is I can say const image ref, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this from Firebase storage. And you see this storage right here. I can go ahead and import that from our Firebase storage. And we set that up with the database earlier. And here's the URL that we're going to do. Users, user ID, files, document ID. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say await upload bytes. So this is a helpful function from Firebase storage, which allows us to upload the image that we have selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in the image ref, and I'm going to simply pass in the selected file that we have. Okay. Once that's done, we can then tap into the action afterwards. Now you can go ahead and do await and actually store this into a result and so forth, or you can just go ahead and do .then, right, and do it so forth, right? And it depends on how you want to do it. I'm showing you different examples. This is a async await. This is a then promise chain. Okay, so here we can say async snapshot like so, and then here I've got my bit of code, right? So what we can do here is this will go ahead and actually upload the file. Inside the snapshot, I will be able to actually go ahead and get the we don't actually use the snapshot here, but what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to get the download URL of the uploaded file. The way I do this is I simply use a helper function from Firebase storage called get download URL, and I simply pass in the image ref. So at this point it would have been uploaded, and then once it's uploaded, it gives me back a download URL that I can then use. What I'm then going to do is update this original document with that information. Okay, so I'm going to use a different call, not add document, but update document. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and access the individual documents. So notice here I access the collection. I stopped at files. Here I'm accessing the document with the document reference ID that was created here. And then very simply, I'm just going to go ahead and update the download URL to pass in the download URL that came back. Okay, so very, very simple sort of bit of logic there. Okay, and then what I want you to do is close it up in appropriate fashion. Now, once that's done, that's actually everything that we needed. So we can go ahead and test this out right now. After that, I'm going to add a toast notification. We actually get a very nice UI response from that. Okay. Hoping to meet you soon here in Dubai, Sunny. Oh, what's up? Awesome stuff. If you're in Dubai, say what's up. All right. So at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and open up my Finder. I'm going to make sure you guys can see things that I want you to see. And I'm going to open up my, let's put this at the bottom of the screen, right? So let's go put it there. All right, so I'm going to hide this now. So as you can see now, what I want to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I want to see all this stuff. Get rid of this, get rid of that. There you go, get rid of that. Cool. So at this point, I'm going to drag and drop a Dropbox clone into here. Now, when I drop this, I want you to pay attention to a few things. Firstly, let's see what happened. Okay. So you can see we don't see any feedback because I haven't got any console logs. But what should have happened now, when I just let go of that, it would have gone into that file, looped through it from here, uploaded the post would have then added a document in our Firestore database, then it would have uploaded the image, got the download URL, and then taken that download URL and updated the original document. Let's see if it did that. If it did, that is damn awesome and it's absolutely amazing. So let's check out the Firestore. Oh, there we go. That's me. I click in files, I click on this, and boom. I have the exact thing. The Dropbox clone is what I drag and drop there. We have the download URL. So if I want to go ahead and check it out, this is a valid download URL. Boom, there you go. Amazing stuff. And you can see right there, that means that in turn, it would have also uploaded to our Firebase storage bucket. So you can see here, we've got the users. Let's go into our user. We can go into the files and we should have the image right there. And as you can see, boom, there we have it, guys. There is the image that we've gone ahead and uploaded. So just like that now, we have a perfectly working situation. Now I can do here is just really elegantly demonstrate this by popping my Firebase on the left. So let's go ahead and pop my Firebase on the left. And I'm simply going to go ahead and show you something here. So if I was to go ahead and take, for example, the SaaS app build I did, drag and drop it. Oh, one second, I want to show you. So if we click on files, you'll see in a real-time fashion how it will go ahead and get uploaded. Look at this. Look. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's uploading. There you go. Look at that. You see that one added in and boom, we have it. Right. So just like that, everything is uploaded. Now I have the backend situation all set up. So this is working perfectly now. Essentially, we have Dropbox set up here, right, to a degree. Right, so if I want to go ahead and pop in our host Ninja VPS video, you can see, look at that, look, and it would also get uploaded. Wait, watch it. Look at that, boom. So in that gap is where it would have uploaded to the storage bucket, got the download URL, come back and boom. That's literally a perfect representation of what just happened. With that, smash that like button and have a quick water break and then we're going to carry on. But that is absolutely phenomenal and how we got that done. Absolutely amazing retention. I think you guys are loving the pace that I'm coding at today, so I'll keep this in mind. Okay, let's carry on. This song always gets me like in a good flow, right? So at this point now, we've got the upload functionality done. So the next natural step is listing out all the files. Okay, and this is actually the easy part. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we go ahead and get this working. So let's go ahead and pop this over here. With that in mind, we're doing very well, guys. This is awesome progress so far. So what I want to do now is I actually want to go ahead, head over to my dashboard. And inside of my dashboard right now, we're going to start building things out. So the first things first, when I have my server render, I want to actually have the ability to skeleton load. So I want to showcase the ability to have a nice little skeleton loader like so to do what I need to do. So what I'm actually going to do here is preload the files on the server render. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do this now. We're going to say const docs results and oops. I'm going to say await. And as you can see here, you're probably wondering, what? How is he doing a top level async await? It's because it's a server component. You can do this in server components. The minute I add in use client, it's now a client component. You cannot do top level async await. We're going to say get docs. Notice how it's not get doc, it's get docs. These are all helper functions, okay? Then I need to go ahead and access the user's, the collection where we are storing the data. Again, you should be using converters here, right? So if you want to have a little challenge for yourself, feel free to add in the converters from the SaaS build that I'd shown previously, or join 0 Stack Hero. I'll show you how to do it yourself. Right now here, I can confidently say there will be a user ID because the dashboard is actually protected by the Clerk middleware that we set up previously. Okay. So in this case, you got the doc results. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up something, I'm going to call it skeleton files. Right, so this is going to be the initial render, and it's going to basically, I'm using this as kind of a hack. I'm using it to tell me how many files are there on the server. right? And then basically what I'm doing is then when I'm loading them in, I'm doing a little bit of a trick. You could actually render them and show them so it's immediately available and then it changes, but I wanted to do a little bit of a cool thing here to show you like a little bit of a loading state, right? You feel free to modify it as however you wish. But we're gonna say skeleton files, and I'm actually gonna create a type definition for us here, right? So what I'm actually gonna do is create a little helper function outside, and I'm gonna call this one typings.ts, right? And inside of here, I'm gonna have a file type known as file type. So no, sorry, a type definition as file type. This is going to have an ID, file name, full name, timestamp, download URL, and this correlates to exactly what we're storing inside the database. Okay, and we're going to export this so we can use it elsewhere. Now, this is going to be of type file type. So I can simply import it. It's going to be an array, and I'm simply going to go ahead and convert the existing things that we talked about. So inside of my dashboard, give me 1 second, like so. Also, I just want to say, I'm using an M3 Max right now, and it is absolutely blazing and handling this live stream like it has never done before, which is insane. I love it. It's actually one of the best things I've ever done, because honestly, my computer is not stressed at all right now, which is amazing. Right? So equals doc results. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to map through. So what we're actually doing here is I'm doing something called data transformation. I cover this really well in Zero to Full Stack Hero. The first link in the description will honestly teach you all of this stuff, I swear to God. But what we're doing here is we're taking the shape of our data, which returns from Firebase, and we're molding it back into a shape which I want to work with, right? Nikhil, what's good, dude? I appreciate you tuning in. So at this point, we're going to say data.docs.map. Map returns an item every time, so we can basically form a new array of the modifications that we do, right? So I'm going to map through, and every single doc, I'm doing an implicit return. Implicit return means parentheses, and then I put an object inside of it. That means I'm returning back an object that will basically bubble up and create an array. Okay, so in this case, I'm saying ID, so I'm basically building out an object now. So the ID will be the doc ID, and then basically I've got the following things happening. So the file name will either be a file name if it exists, otherwise just save it as a document ID, and a few other things. So the timestamp. Now the timestamp is a very careful thing you have to do here. So if we were to pass the Firebase timestamp down into from a server component to a client component, you're going to get an error saying it's complex objects, only simple objects can be passed down. So what I've done here is I'm essentially taking the timestamp at the server render, converting it to a regular date object by basically timesing the seconds by 1,000, and I'm creating a regular date object that can then simply be passed down. So that way we take it from its Firebase, data type, which is considered complex from a server to client component, and I'm simplifying it to make it super easy. And basically all we do, but to say that is the case, we say timestamp equals new date. We get the seconds from the timestamp, times it by 1,000, or if none of that works, we just set it as undefined, right? And we're going to use that undefined later to do a check. The rest of it is fairly straightforward. We're basically just mapping to the data that comes back. Okay, so the document data that comes back, we basically just map them through. So this will give me all of the files inside of our app. Now I can prove to you that this works by saying console log skeleton files. And now what we can see here, this is going to happen on the server. So what I can actually see, if I open this up right now and I clear my console, when I refresh, it will show in the server because this is a server component. So if I refresh now, you can see, look at that. I get all of the things which are shown above. So look at that, the ID, these are all the files that should be shown. Okay, so now that I have the server, I have my skeleton files, I can go ahead and do some interesting things. Okay, so I'm going to create a section here, and inside of this section I'm going to have an H2 saying all files, right? And then underneath I'm going to have a div, and inside of here I'm going to have something called a table wrapper. Okay, and this is going to be a wrapper, which essentially does some clever things around this table, like it loads up the data and all that kind of stuff, right? A little bit of basic styling here. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a container. It should have a space Y of 5. The div here, I'm going to have a border on the top. So it's got a simple line there. There you go. We say all files. And I'm going to say class here should be a font bold. So very simple bit of styling there. There you go. Nothing too major. Okay, next thing you know, I'm going to have a new file called table wrapper. In the GitHub repo, I've actually called this file table. It's just file table, but I think it makes more sense to call this as it is. And then I'm going to pass in the skeleton files. Okay, and I'm calling it skeleton files because I'm literally using it in this build as a demonstrational purpose to showcase how many things need to be loaded in. Okay, again, you can feel free to change it up however you wish. So let's create our table wrapper component. So what I'm actually going to do here is to simplify things. Inside of components, I'm going to create a new folder called table. And inside of my table, I'm going to call this one a table wrapper.tsx. Okay. Now for my table wrapper.tsx, we're simply going to go ahead and pass in these skeleton files as a prop. So if we do RFCE, we go ahead and do the following like so. This is where the props come in. I'm going to simply do a destructuring and pass in the skeleton files. And I'm saying that the type that will come through is actually just going to be file type. So what we talked about earlier. Okay. Very simple. Then what I want to do is I want to render out a skeleton based on that information, right? So very, very simple stuff here. And I'll show you how we go ahead and do this. Firstly, we're going to go ahead and have the end goal would be to have a table and a button, right? So the first thing we're going to do is I need a quick drink of water. 1 second. Okay. My cough is getting progressively worse. Okay, let's go. So at this point, we have our table wrapper. So here I'm going to have a button. Okay, so I'm going to have a button. I'm going to have a data table. So let's go ahead and put the button in first. So boom, a UI button like so. And this will say sort by something. Okay, so sort by ascending, sort by descending, and so forth. Now with the table wrapper, I'm going to go back to my page dashboard. I'm going to pop this in like so. Okay, we can start seeing it. There you go, sort by. So let's go into our table wrapper. And after that, we're going to have a data table. Okay. So a data table, what I want you to do is this was actually going to be a little bit more of a complex object, which I'll explain in a second. But this one is going to look something like this. Okay. And I'll show you how we go ahead and tackle this one, break it down. Now, before that's done, what I actually want to do is I want to go ahead and do a few things. And so there's lots of ways you can approach this, right? We can go ahead and use it to to perfectly render something here so we don't have a loader and so forth. But I'll show you a few other ways that we can do it. So first thing I want you to do is head over to Shadcn and we're going to go to the table. Okay, so we're going to go to the table. And here you can see we've got a bunch of different table examples. First things first, we're going to add the table. Okay, so Command J, love this song. And then we're going to say npm Shadcn at latest add table. Right, and then what I want you to do is you're going to copy in the following. Now, obviously, this is a very simple one. Oh, actually, sorry, I completely screwed this one. It's data table. Data table. This is the one we want. So don't do what I just did. Oh no, you can do that. We need the add table anyway. All right, so add table done. Then I want you to install tanstack react table dependency. Okay, so add this in. Go down, and this is where the interesting part will happen. Okay, so we're gonna have firstly. We're going to have, you see, they've done 3 different things here. I'm going to make it way easier for you. I'm going to create one file called columns, and this is going to resemble all the columns that are pulled in. So we're going to go and say columns.tsx. I think this is going to be distracting with this music, so I'm going to do some non-lyrics stuff here. Right? Have some ginger drink already, man. Yeah, honestly, I need some ginger stuff. I was drinking it all last night as well while I was coding. So we're gonna do this. Hopefully that should show dedication to this live stream. I'm never gonna stop. Okay, guys, we're almost at 1,000 likes as well. Absolutely incredible stuff. Let's get there. Come on, smash that like button. So at this point now, I want you to go into this, and we're basically, you can go ahead and copy this example, okay, and then we're gonna modify it. So I want you to copy it, and we're gonna modify it. Now, modifying is fairly straightforward. All I want you to do is basically we have accessor keys, and these are going to resemble the different keys that are going to go ahead and loop through. So the table that you see as an end result, accessor key, this is the header, and then we've got the accessor key which accesses that piece of data. Okay. Now I've made it very simple for you. I've gone ahead and changed up a couple of things. So first things first, we don't want this payment. Get rid of that. Okay, so we can go ahead and get rid of that. You can even use Zod schemas if you really want. I'm going to go ahead and say this is actually going to be a file type. Okay, so that's what we're using. All right, so it's file type array. It's very simple. Next things first, next thing in the mix, sorry, is we're going to have 2 different accessor keys. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this and pop in a file name and timestamp. Now you'll notice that this is mapping to these keys. Okay, so remember that, right? Very simple. the next thing is, if I wanted to render it out, but do something special when it renders out, I can have a few different approaches to this. I can actually go ahead and say something like this. When I access the size, the header should be size, but I want to go ahead and render that cell in a specific way. So here you can see I'm using something called Pretty Bytes. So I'll show you what Pretty Bytes is. It's a massive, very popular NPM package, which actually helps you out a lot when you're rendering things like kilobytes, and it goes ahead and prettifies bytes into a readable form. So we're going to go ahead and install that right now. So Command J, pull that in like so, npm I pretty bytes, pop that in. Okay, now I can simply go ahead, Control Spacebar, pull that in like so. Okay, and you can see now I'm rendering the value. Notice how I'm casting it as a number, else we're going to get a little mistake. Yeah, this is because it's not sure on what the different data types are here. It's not inferring it correctly. Okay, so with that in mind now, what we can then do is we've got this cell rendering out. We're basically taking our value, which is render value, and we're rendering in a specific way. I'm going to do the same thing with the download URL, except I want it to be an anchor tag, which will redirect me to a specific page. I'm using an anchor tag because I don't want prefetching and a few other things. You can use a link tag here as well. Right? You could actually go ahead and do something like that, but to keep things simple, I'm just going to showcase both options. An anchor tag is fine here. Target blank because I want you to open up a new tab when you click the download button. Okay. What's up, guys? I see you tuning in. Awesome stuff, right? And I've got it so when I hover over it, it just says download. So this is what it's going to look like, something along the lines of this. Okay, and this will do open a new tag with the information inside of it. Okay, so great stuff. So we got the download URL, we got the size, and the final one that I want to kind of show you is the type. Now the type is actually quite interesting. So the type is this: PNG, JPEG, MP4. You're probably wondering, how did he do that? Right, so I'll show you how we've done that. Right, so basically I'm going to pop in the first one. So it's download URL with the header is link. Sorry, no, not this one. I've completely messed that one up. It's not that one. It's actually type. So it's this right here. Type, header is type, and this cell, this is a bit where obviously we determine how it's going to render out. So first things first, I get the type, and then the extension. So think of it this way: an image will have a following extension. It'll be something like this: image/JPEG. Right. So what I'm doing is, and then even with PNGs, it'll be like doc/PNG or something like that. Right. But the point is that the extension is after the split. So if we do type.split, so this is the type, for example, then we say split. So when you do a split, basically what you're doing is you've got an array where this is the first value, and then you've got your second argument, which will be JPEG. Right. And then what we're doing is we're taking 0 is the first index, 1 is the second one, because we count from 0 when we're coding. So I'm basically getting the JPEG, and now extension will be essentially JPEG. Okay, so basically that's what's happening there. So you're basically splitting it, and then you've got your 0 and your 1 index. So that's how we get the extension. And then I'm going to use this very nice library called File Icon. So this is actually from a library called React File Icon, and I can show you where that is right now by going to reactfileicon.com. Oh no, just Google it. You'll see here we can simply install this. Pretty popular download, right? Okay, go ahead, pop this in like so, and we're going to simply go ahead and import two things from it. Right, and sometimes it doesn't install the type definition. So if you run into this situation, hover over it, you'll get this error. You simply just need to go ahead and pop the save dev dependencies inside, and then it will go ahead and fix that for you. You will now see the red line will disappear in just a second. Okay, now what we're doing is we're rendering out the extension. So we'll go ahead and show at this rate, it will show like a PNG, a JPEG, and so forth, depending on what's shown. But the interesting part here is actually the label color. So what I've done here is I've created something called a color extension map. Right, all that is a glorified way of just saying I've created a file called constant, which basically just has a bunch of constants inside of it. So if we say constant.ts, you can feel free to put this wherever you want. And all I've done is made a map. So all this is, guys, is a map. This is a map where basically if I put in a single line, it will make very much more sense. This is basically saying it's a key value pair. So it's basically you have a key which maps to a value. So these are the keys. These are all different colors. And based on whatever color you want a PDF to be, example, exhibit A, PNG is blue. Right, so if you go down to PNG, you can customize the color and so forth. Okay, so basically we've done that. We've exported it. Then we go back over here, we import it. And now you can see based on whatever the extension is, we get a different color. Now, this bit right here It's simply a TypeScript sort of, you know, situation where it's implicitly applying something. For now, I'm doing a TS ignore. I know someone's going to comment on that, but don't worry. You can feel free to figure that one out yourself, or we can cover it in Zero to Full Stack Hero. Right now, I'm not spending a while figuring this one out, right? But you can go ahead and fix that on your own time. Okay, because that's not a major issue right here. So with that said, now we have our columns successfully configured. Okay, so once we've got the columns successfully configured, like so, we can now move on to the next step. So heading back over to data table, you can see they defined it, and then they've got the data table component. Okay, so in our situation now, we've simply called it table component. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead over here and we've got the columns, the table wrapper, and we're simply going to say table.tsx. Okay, now this table, I'm going to go ahead and show you the following. So what you can do is I want you to copy this example. Okay, copy this example, paste it in. Right, very, very simply paste it in. And as you can see, it should all play well if you've done everything correctly. Now, what this is designed to do is to take what we've defined in our columns.tsx and render out the data that is passed through accordingly. Now, I want you to pay attention. Columns comes through as a prop, data comes through as a prop. Okay, so if we go to our table wrapper now, where we will be pulling in the data table, this is where essentially we are going to go ahead and pass in the data and so forth. So you see the data is the initial files. Now initial files, you're probably wondering, well, that doesn't make any sense. Where's the initial files set up? Well, what we could do is we can actually use the skeleton files as the initial files. So if I passed in this, it would work perfectly. Okay, the columns we can import from columns, and then this we can go ahead and import like so. So if I go ahead and hit save now, what we should see is boom. Firstly, sick. All right, works so nicely. So you can use that right now, and as you can see, if I was to go ahead and refresh, just like that, I mean, this is giving me an error right now because it doesn't match. So ignore that for now. I'll show you exactly what we're going to do. But now if I click on try for free, you can see it pre-renders it beforehand. Now, I'm not going to actually use that as the approach, right? I actually want to do something a little bit cool, but you can get the point that you can have the data immediately available. I'm going to do something kind of cool here, just as a more of a gimmicky vibe, to go ahead and give you like this dynamic loading situation. But I'm showing you that you can do this, so that way no one sort of calls me out on it, right? But what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to have a nice little skeleton loader situation, and I'll show you a little demo before we carry on. Basically, I want it to be like this. So it's going to go ahead and refresh, and then it loads the first 5, and it knew that because of the server render. But while it dynamically loads it, so basically it attaches a real-time listener to the database, which is what we need, because when I upload the file, it needs to real-time update that list. I'm going to do the following. Okay, so let's go ahead and firstly, I'm going to convert this to a client component, the table wrapper. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, I'm going to have I need access to the user's object, right? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pull the user like so, using use user. Okay, I'm going to pull that from Clerk.Next.js. I don't need any of these values. I just need the user itself. Next thing you know, I'm going to need a piece of state called initial files. Initial files, and I'm going to go ahead and say set initial files, and we're going to map it to the file type. Okay, this is going to be for the real-time listener connected files. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually I just realized something as well. I just realized something that I could have done separately here. Never mind, it's fine. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, and then I'm also going to have a final bit of state for the sort. I'm going to say sort, set sort, and this one is going to say I want it to either map to ascending or descending. So it's going to be either one of these two, and it starts off with descending. Okay, and then here what I'm essentially going to go ahead and say is our sort is going to be very, very simple. All this is going to say is that if it is on click, we have an arrow function, set the sort. If it's descending, it'll set it to ascending, otherwise it'll just be descending. Okay, and then very simply for the text, all we do is we basically just have a ternary condition, which will render out nicely to the following. If it's descending, it's newest, otherwise so forth, right? So if I go ahead and show you this right now, you can see, ignore the error for now, but you see that sort by oldest, sort by newest. Okay, really nice. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to be using something called React Firebase hooks. Really nice library. And I'm going to make it very simple for you to go ahead and use. React Firebase hooks is a real-time listener Firebase library. Awesome, awesome thing to use. Mayank says, Sunny casually dropping bangers. That's what I'm talking about, dude. All right. So at this point now, we can go ahead and install React Firebase hooks. This it really nicely gives me real-time Firebase collection hooks and things like that. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and modify my ND filter. There we go. Okay. So now we've installed that, we can go ahead and use it. So you can feel free to go into here and see Cloud Firestore hooks and all this kind of stuff. They have loads of different hooks that you can use. So in this case, if you ever get stuck, you know where to look. In this case, I've already done the hard work for you. All we're going to do is basically go ahead and use the use collection hook. Right now, mine is not pulling in for some weird reason. So I'm going to go ahead and manually add that in like so. And now I'm saying if the user exists, that's very important. We're going to run a query on Firestore. And this is basically just like, to put it simply, without the query, all we're doing is this, right? So we're basically just doing a very simple pull from our database from this location, and it's going to give us all the documents. But what we do is if we wrap it around the query, what we actually do here is we can order it. So when we fetch that data from the database, we can actually order in, we can basically sort it by timestamp based on the ascending order. So if it's ascending or descending and so forth. Okay, so that's that. And now we're not actually going to use loading and error, but I'll keep it there so you know that they're there. And then we have the docs. Now, the problem with this is that, remember that timestamp that I spoke about earlier? That timestamp is actually going to cause us an issue if we try and use this, because our skeleton files are different to the initial files because of that one field, right? And that's annoying. This is where a converter would actually come in very handy. I'm actually going to quickly go ahead and actually unscrew my ND file so that way you guys can see my face a little bit easier. So give me 1 second. I'm unscrewing it and watch the difference now. Watch this. Okay, there you go. Boom. Super bright. Okay, that's way too bright. That's no good. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna go ahead. I didn't realize my camera settings are all on manual, and I probably shouldn't do that in a live stream. But smash the like button for the attempt. I'm almost about to rip this off my camera right now, which is very silly of me to do on a live stream. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's not do that on a live stream again. All right, we're back. Let's carry on. Oh my God, we just got some banging news. That is sick, Jay. Oh, wicked. Okay, let's go. Okay, well, I'm excited now. Guys, we're working with Microsoft. Big news. Sick. All right, that's so cool. All right, so let's carry on. So what we want to do is when that data loads, we want to go ahead and do a little transformation step. So this is where use effect will come in very handy, okay? So this use effect will run when the component mounts, and I can actually set the different rendering conditions here. I want to render it when the component mounts and also when the docs change, right? So what I can do is I can say use effect like so. So here I can say const files equals, and what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to map through the files, okay? So I'm going to say docs. Firstly, I need to say if there are no docs, I'm going to do a simple return. So this is known as defensive programming. Okay. And then I'm going to do a map. So this is where I transform the data. So const files equals docs.docs.map. And every single doc, I'm going to do an implicit return with an item. And it's basically the same transition that I did previously. So like so. Okay. And I can go ahead and say this is going to be a file type array. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say set the initial files to be the files over here. So now what it will do is it will load up this data. It will go ahead, convert it to the data type that I kind of want in, and then we can use the initial files. Okay. And those initial files I'm going to push through here. So now I will show you guys. If we go ahead and refresh now, it will pull in that data, and you see how there's a delay now. Because what it's doing is, and you see how we got rid of that error as well. But what's actually happening now is it's going ahead and it's rendering. Well, I kind of want to change this music up. Okay. So what's happening now is it's going ahead and it's rendering on the client. So it's it's connecting a real-time listen. That's why there's a little bit of a delay. In that initial situation, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and actually have it. So also look at this, guys. If I go ahead and sort my newest notice, you see how it sorts it? Amazing stuff, because it's attached to the sort here. Right, so firstly, that's working. So we just implemented the sort functionality as well. But secondly, I want to go ahead and change this now. So it's a little bit more, visually appealing. Instead of saying no results, because we server rendered the skeleton files, we can actually do something pretty cool here instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if the docs initially are undefined, right? So that basically means that if the docs haven't loaded in yet, so these docs that we see here, the real-time listening docs. Real-time, I mean, like if something was to change in the backend, it will go ahead and refresh accordingly. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say if this is the case, then we're going to return some JSX instead of the bottom one, okay? And what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to say div, and let's basically just say loading. So I'm just going to show you an example. So now, if we go ahead and refresh, you see that loading, then boom, it pops in. Okay, so this is the thought process behind it. Now, yes, you can make use of the new Next.js kind of loading states, all that good stuff, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just trying to show you how you can go ahead and use this in the way that we're going to currently use it. But remember, there's so many different ways that you can go ahead and change this up, really mess around with things. This is how we're going to go ahead and demonstrate it today. Okay, so at this point now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to, where is it? Yeah, here. And we're going to introduce a skeleton loader. So head over to Shadcn, go to skeleton, and you see we have this beautiful skeleton loader. So I'm going to go ahead and do add skeleton, boom, Command J, pop that in, or install it, sorry, here. We're not committing our code, there we go. And that's gone ahead and added skeleton loaders to our project. And very simply, all you do is you import the skeleton to the top of the file like so. And then we go ahead and we pop it in. Now I've already done the hard work for you, but all I'm essentially done here is I'm saying it's a flex column container that we're positioning everything in. And right now I'm going to have a dummy button. Okay, so a dummy button like so. If I was just to show you that, for example, you see how there's a dummy button now? Obviously I need to make this button be styled correctly in the first place. And I can do that by doing a very simple addition here. So this button, I'm just going to go ahead and style it quickly. Margin left. I'm also going to say that this div should also be flex column, space between the Y components of 5 and a padding on the bottom of 10. Right, super simple. The button should be the variant of outline. Okay, so you see that? Look at that, boom, so nice, right? And now you can see, look, when I do it, it's sorting it and returning us the value. And also you can see that when it's loading, we get this nice little loader, right? Which is awesome. So this skeleton loader now, I'm also going to do the same thing. I'm going to have a div. Okay, so a div. I'm building out the casing of what a skeleton would look like. So in this case, we've got a div border. So if I go ahead and do this, you see they've got a little line there. Let's go ahead and say that this div should have a border, which is rounded to a degree. Okay, and then I'm going to map through all the different files. Okay. So I'm going to map through all the skeleton files. I'm just going to showcase something which resembles somewhat of what I'm trying to look for. So you see that? So that looks really clean now. So it already knows the number of skeleton files. And then while it attaches that real-time listener in the background, it's going to go ahead and pop it in. Okay. So at this point, I'm also going to say if there was no file, I don't want it to basically show nothing. Okay, so I'm also going to say if the skeleton file's length was 0, then I'm also going to show a empty sort of like it just show 1, and then it'll say there are no results. So right now we've got a beautiful skeleton loader. Look at that, guys, absolutely gorgeous. If I click on sort, it goes ahead and sorts it and returns the data and stuff like that. Beautiful, beautiful stuff right now. Now, because it's a real-time listener, what we can actually do, which you probably didn't even realize yet, is now it would actually work with when I upload a new thing to it as well. So at this point, when I upload a new file, so that we can actually see in real time how this will work. So if I take my Dropbox clone, right, and I go ahead and pop it in, look at this, look, boom, Dropbox clone, just like that. Sort by newest, let's pop it in here, and let's do that one more time. Right, I'm going to take the previous podcast that I just did. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in. Boom. Look at that, guys. Absolutely sick. Absolutely amazing stuff. And if I was to click on the Dropbox clone right here, boom. Look at that. So nice. Right? So clean. Yeah. So at this point now, that's looking pretty cool. Right? So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and let's just sort this out. So you can see everything's working the way we expect it. But we still need to add in a few additional things. We're also doing really, really well on time. I just want to let you guys know, I appreciate every single one of you. We're about to hit 1,000 likes. Absolutely smashing it today, guys. If you're enjoying this, subscribe, like, and we're going to carry on strong to the end of this build. Okay. So at this point now, what I want you to do is we're going to go ahead and customize the rest of this? Well, firstly, I want to add a few toaster notifications, right? But let's do that afterwards. Let's actually add in the modals and all that good stuff. So inside of the data table is where we want to be next. So basically now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add in a few different edge cases. Okay, so where we have the rows being rendered out, what I'm going to do now is firstly I'm going to add a delete button. Okay, so I'm going to add a delete button around where we map through our table rows. So how do I do this? Well, essentially where we have, where we have no results, I'm going to say you have no files. Okay, just like this. So it's a bit more easier to understand. And then outside of here, what I'm going to do is outside of the table, underneath the table row, after we map through the visible cells, what I'm going to do is, one second. Yeah, we have this. So I'm going to have a table cell. So I'm actually going to put in my own custom table cell, and this is going to resemble the delete button. Okay, so I'm going to import my file type here, button. I'll explain everything that I just did. This is going to do nothing at the moment. In fact, right now, because we haven't got this set up, I'm just going to go ahead and say something like this. I'm going to say console log hello, console that out, and the trash icon we can import it from Lucid React, right? All this is doing here is the key for this will be the actual row contents is the actual. So if you do row original, I'm casting it to file type, but it's actually the file itself, and then you can access this data type. So in this case, you see that all of the file contents of that row that we're basically hovering over. So if I was to go here now, what you should see is a trash can, right? And right now, if I click into it, you will see hello. Okay. So if I was to go ahead and pop this on the side right now, ignore that. That's my extension, the red stuff. You see when I click it, it says hello. Okay. So we've successfully tapped into it and added a custom field. And this is also scrollable as well. And right now we will go ahead and prettify all of this as well. So don't worry, that will look really clean. It won't look like the way it looks like now. And Vercel, that is going to have it. So when I click it, it will pop up with the delete modal. Okay. So quick little water break and then carry on. I have to say your retention is absolutely phenomenal right now. So you guys are absolutely incredible the way you're sticking around. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and do the I'm going to firstly figure out the rest of this. So where we have the table cell being rendered out here, okay, I'm actually going to go ahead and do a little check to see a few different edge cases. So the first edge case I want to do is I'm going to say if the cell column ID is the timestamp cell. Okay, so obviously you can go ahead and render these out completely. You could do this at the column level. All right, you can definitely do this at the column level, but I'm also showing you how you can customize it here as well. So I'm trying to show you both ways, right? So I've shown you already how you can do it at the column level, but right now I'm also showing you how you can do it at this level. So 1 second, guys. Sorry, I've completely screwed something up. Let's render like so. Okay, it's because of this. Yeah. So if I was just to put this here for a second. So we've got this rendered out. Otherwise, we've got this rendered out. Yep, so let's pop this out like so. Okay. So if it's a timestamp, I'm going to do the following. I've just got a simple div, which basically just prettifies it, right? So if I go ahead and show you this, all we've done here is we put a div in. We've got two divs inside of it. The first one is rendering the locale string. The second one is rendering the date and time. So it's basically turned that nasty looking one into this, the time and the date in which it was done. And you can see when we sort it out, it basically changes to the other order. So that's very, very simple. Okay, that's not funny. Whoever put that in the group chat, in the chat, Jay, sort it out. And then what we're going to do is we've got a ternary here. So you can do, I'm going to do a nested ternary. I'm not a fan of doing nested ternary, but we're going to go ahead and sort this out. So in this case, I'm going to say else cell.column.id is equal to, 1 second. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to say else file name. Okay, like so. And then I'm basically dropping it down. So again, I would not recommend that you do this approach, right? I don't like doing it this way, but I'm showing you both approaches. You can either modify it in the columns like so and render the cell out accordingly, which is actually a really clean way. But I think it's always good to show you both, right? So that way you can make a calculated decision. If you ever need to custom bespoke, enter it, customize it, you can do that, right? But I always think it's good to show you these situations so that way you're well informed and you can kind of do what you need to do, right? So at this point now, for this second one, if it's a file name, I'm going to have the following appear, right? So if it's a file name, it's going to look something like this. So pencil icon, pop that in, and again over here, well, I've got the open rename modal, which we haven't yet done. So I'm going to go ahead and configure this accordingly. Right now, I'm just going to say hello. Okay, so this is your final form. Okay, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing in one. So here, so this entire block now is basically custom checking. If it's a timestamp, it will conditionally render it like so. If it's a file name, it will conditionally render it like so. Otherwise, it will render out the cell, just to render out the context of the cell. Now you can completely, and I stress this, you can completely combine this in a different way as well. So I want to firstly show you what we just did. So you can see now we've actually got this. So I've got this, all of the setup is there. And obviously we can go ahead and mess this around. About time to subscribe. Content was fire. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Almost at 500 likes. Smash that like button if you're enjoying this content. Okay. So at this point, looking great. Yeah, and then we can obviously customize it further. The reason why I've kept it in here, by the way, as well, is because I'll be triggering things like open, rename, modal, and so forth. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the following. So we're going to do, I'm going to implement these two. So open, rename, modal, and I'm going to do the delete modal situations. Okay. So firstly, I'm going to go ahead and set up the open and delete modal. So let's do it right up at the top here. So I'm going to create a function called open delete modal, and it's very simple what I'm going to do here. So I'm actually going to show you. We're going to set a piece of state to the file ID. So that way, when you essentially click the delete modal, we're going to store the ID of the file that you're trying to delete. And that's going to be important for when the pop-up comes up. We're also going to set the modal to be true, right? Now, I'm going to set this in a global state layer, right? So I'm going to be using Zustand. You can use Redux, you can use the React Context API. Why is this important? It's important because sometimes we need to set data points or variables inside of our app that can be globally accessed throughout anywhere inside of our application. Super important to be able to understand how to correctly do this. We're going to be using Zustand to do exactly that. Okay, so in this case, this is where we would set the file ID and so forth. I'm going to do the same thing for the rename modal. So I'm going to pop it open here, and we're going to go ahead and set up our state so that way we can set these things up. So we're going to take a little second to go ahead and Google Zustand. And Zustand is a very simple state management library. It's actually, I'm a very big fan of this at the moment. It's very easy sort of state management library. You want to install it into your project like so. And then what I need you to do is go ahead and create a store. Okay. So at the top level, package.json level, I'm going to create a store. And then inside of that, I'm going to go ahead and create a store.ts file. Okay. Now inside of the store, all we're going to do, very simply, go ahead and create this, right? So we import create from Zustand, and this is where we basically create up our store. So firstly, I'm going to create an interface which resembles the state of our app. So this is it. So we've got a piece of state which determines if the modal for deleting something is open, and we have a setter function. These are all type definitions. We have the same thing for the rename modal, and we have a way to go ahead and change it. Then we have a file ID, which is basically going to allow us to keep track of what file we're interacting with, and we have the setter function for it. We also have the file name and a way to modify the file name. Then, of course, we have to create our store. So the way we do this is we simply go ahead, and you can feel free to check out here. So you see they've literally got the examples here as well, but I'm showing you the very simple version of it. Okay. So here we can actually have our store. So what we do is we create it using the app state. We're going to call this one use app store. You can have different slices based on what you're doing. And again, this is globally accessible throughout your app. So let's look at the first example here. So we're going to prepare, for example, the file ID and set file ID. So I pop this in, and this is erroring out because we're missing all these other things. But in this case, I'm setting the initial value of file ID here to null, and you can see it's either string or null. And then I'm saying when we call this function, it's simply an arrow function which takes the file ID and it sets the file ID to whatever we want it to inside of the store. I do the same principle for all of the other variables. So you can see here. Okay, just like that. Now, this is essentially a reducer, right? So this is essentially allowing us now to modify our global store so that way we can use this throughout our app however we need to use it. It's very, very powerful, and it's very simple in how we can go ahead and use this. It's worth mentioning, I make all of this extremely easy and simple inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. So I teach you about global state management. I teach you about all of these different coding principles and fundamentals. It is worth checking out. You can go ahead and check it out at papareact.com/course, or scan the QR code on the top of my face right now over there. And you can go ahead and check it out. Remember, Cyber Monday sale, our biggest ever sale, 50% off everything pretty much. So you can go ahead and check it out, okay? I've done that for you guys, okay? So at this point, we've got our store. Now, how do I access the store inside of a component? Because you said, Sonny, that it was a global piece of information. So how do I access all of that stuff then? So I'll show you how we can go ahead and do that. Firstly, this is actually incredible. Sanchi says, hey, thank you so much for being my mentor, especially for coding. It helps me to chase my dream. It makes my job easier. And now I'm selected for one of the best organizations. Jay, screenshot that. Amazing stuff. You're welcome. Prashad says, you're a wonderful person with a beautiful heart. Keep being amazing. I appreciate you so much. The Papa fam, that is what we're about. The energy is all about that. Thank you so much. Yeah. So in this case, how do I pull this information so we can use it? Well, it's very simple. All we got to do is we say const, we have an array, and then we say use app store. And then we basically have the state that we can map to accordingly here. Now, I'll explain all of this in just a second. But all this is doing is we have this line of code, okay? Now what we do is, let's say I want the file ID, right? So I want the set file ID function. I can go ahead and say set file ID. I can say set file ID, okay? And then here I can say state dot file ID, state dot set file ID. Now I've got access to these two things. You see that? And I can successfully modify it accordingly. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for a few others now. And I'm basically going to shorthand this, and I've already set it up for you. So I've gone ahead and pulled in a bunch of things. I'm not even using all of these, so we don't even need some of these. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need this. I don't need this, and so forth, right? So we've extremely made that simple. In fact, I need to go ahead and modify this as well. So file ID I don't need. Set file name. It needs to be in the correct order, by the way. You can't do them out of order like this. Set is rename modal open. Okay, we need that one. Set is delete. Set file ID. Set file name is rename. And then this one, what is that? Is rename modal open. Set is rename. Okay, yep. There you go. So this one here. Oh, sorry, this one is wrong. Should be set is. There you go. Okay. So make sure they match up. So it has to be the first one, second one, third one, fourth one accordingly. Okay, these have to match up in the correct order that you specified them. Perfect, that's perfect. Okay, now we can go ahead and modify that global piece of information, okay? So it's overwhelming enough for today. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we've got the open delete modal, the open rename modal. So next step that I want you to do is we're gonna go ahead and connect these to our app. So remember the open rename modal. All I'm doing here is I'm basically passing in the ID and the file name. So that way I pass in the ID and the file name, and we set those global variables, and I set the is rename modal true. We do the same for open delete modal. So instead of the console log hello, now we're going to do the same thing. I can get rid of the hellos. And now what I'm doing is I have a toggle. So when I click that delete button, for example, over here, it will toggle the open delete modal. It will basically hit this function. This will then go ahead and set the delete modal to true. This is where the fun stuff comes in. Now, all I have to do is go to Shadcn, and I go to a dialog here. Now, if I click this, edit profile, you see these pop-ups. This is known as dialog, right? Very, very simple stuff. And I will show you how we can go ahead and use this. So we're going to start with the delete modal, to be quite frank. So you can do this. You can also have the alert dialog, which is a bit more of an urgency thing. So you can actually use that one. I like the dialog because you can click away from it. So in this one, you see it's more of an alert. Dialog allows you to have a click out as well. So you got that natural click out behavior. So what I'm going to do is copy this npx shad add dialog like so, pull that in, quick little water break. Can you tell I have a cough? It's hidden, right? So at this point we add that in, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two different modals, right? The modals in discussion right now, this modal and this modal. Okay, so let's keep going. So we've got the components, and here I'm going to go ahead and create a delete modal.tsx. Right. I also have to do the toast notifications after this. Very quick. Don't worry. We're doing very well on timing. And then we'll do a deployment. All this stuff will be very simple. Trust me. All right. So the delete modal right now, what I want you to do is you can use this as a very simple base. Right. So for example, if we go to the custom close button, you can see we've got a nice base there. We can simply copy this. Okay. And we can go ahead and paste it in like so. So what I want you to do here is, yeah, you can copy that. And then we're going to call this one delete modal like so. And we need the input for the delete. We don't need an input. We don't actually need the label either. Right. Instead, what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and say we don't have a trigger. We can get rid of that. For the dialog content. In fact, you know what? I'm going to show you how I'm actually going to customize this rather than messing around too much with this. For the dialog header, what I've done is I've got the dialog description and dialog title. So here I'm going to pop these in. Are you sure you want to delete? This action cannot be undone. That's very simple. And then underneath it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the button, another button. I'm going to have a flexbox. So what I've done here is if we take their buttons like so, get rid of that, and I'm going to paste my own buttons. Okay, now I want you to you can pause the code at this point to see this. We're going to create a delete file function, but essentially what we're doing here is we have a cancel button, which is just going to set the modal to false, so that way it won't open. So we're going to need that function that we spoke about earlier, which means that this is actually going to be also, firstly, a client-side component. We should be writing use client, and then I need to go ahead and grab a few things off of my global state like so. So we need to get the app store like this. Really good. Okay. And then if we go down here, that's perfect. On click delete file, I'm going to create a function for that. And then we'll handle that delete functionality here. Okay. But with that in mind, now what we can do is we can go ahead and actually attach a few more things. So firstly, this dialog, we're going to attach it to our global store. So this will be determined if it's open or not based on our global store. So we can say is delete modal open. Okay, so is delete modal open? I don't know why that's not popping up right now. There you go, is delete modal open. And then we're gonna say on open change. What I can say is open, like so. And then I can say set is open to whatever it is. So basically, if you've clicked open, like whenever we modify the open behavior, it will just modify our global store. That's how we essentially handle this approach. Okay, so far that is actually pretty cool. And what I can do here is now, because it's mapped to the global state, if I try this out, guys, what we should see is that if I go ahead and click this, we don't see it. Now, there's a reason why we don't see it. Can anyone guess why? Everything's set up in the correct way. Everything seems to be perfect, but we're missing something. And I know exactly what it is. If we go to our table, we aren't actually rendering it anywhere, right? We're not actually putting that table, that modal anywhere inside of our application. So how do we do this? Super simply. Inside of our table row, where is our table row? Right? Where before we map through all of the visible cells. So where is it? Here. Yeah. Inside of before we map through, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to put in the delete modal, like so. Now it's in the context of where we need it. And look at this, guys. If I click this, boom. There we go. Perfect. Now this is the close button, but we don't even want that. We don't care about that. If I click cancel, you see how it cancels it. And if I click delete, we haven't implemented this functionality, but so far, very nice, right? Now let's go ahead and get rid of that delete. So let's go to our delete modal. And right now, the reason being is because we've got this footer here. So we could actually go ahead and pop the buttons inside of the footer if you really want to. So let's do a quick little refactor job. Let's pop this in here to be more syntactically correct. Let's pop that in like so. Let's go ahead and have our buttons as children here. So let's go ahead and do this. And instead of the dialog close, I'm not going to use these predefined components. I'm going to use our own buttons. And now that's more syntactically correct if we were to pop it open. Or I mean, I'm not a fan of that, to be fair. That does not look like the way I intended it to. In fact, let's just do dialog footer. Let's get rid of that. Let's keep what we had previously. That's much nicer. And you can see it's fully responsive. It works the way we want it. Now, deleting the file, let's handle that before we continue on. Deleting the file, very simple, right? It's actually a lot simpler than you might think. What we want to do here is we're going to, firstly, I need to check, I need the user's information. So I need to know who that user is that is signed in. So we're going to go ahead and pull that value in right now. Okay. So next thing I want to do is in the delete file, I'm going to simply have a code block which checks if there is no user ID or no file ID currently set. And the reason why this is really important, remember, when I click this individual, so say I click this one, I already have the ID set now of the file IDs. We set it globally, so now I know which file the user is clicking. Okay, so these things are really important. Okay, so the first things first, I need a file reference. So we're going to use a simple principle that we did earlier as well. We have the users, the user ID, the files, and then the file ID. This is the bucket for the Firebase storage bucket, right? So in this case, we're actually referencing this right here, the storage bucket. Okay, now once we have that storage bucket, that reference, all we need to do is do something called a delete object. So a delete object call from Firebase, and then what we do is we pass in the file reference, and then we can tap into the then function. So we can say asynchronous, boom, like so. And what I can do is I can go ahead and basically just log out to say, whoa, you successfully deleted your file. Okay, very simple. Successfully delete the file. And then once that's done, I want to go ahead and actually delete the document. Okay, you can also go ahead and catch an error if this was to ever happen at any point. So from here, you can go ahead and say catch, and you can handle these accordingly. But just a prime example of things, right? So I'm going to await this as well, just to make sure that it waits for that. But this is just an example of what you could do. Okay. So in this case, I'm very confident this will work. So I'm not actually going to do this. I want it to await, delete the object, and then I'm going to do the delete doc. You could also tag it onto it, right? So if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and do this, and then you can do the next delete statement afterwards. So that way it firstly deletes that one, then it does this, the following one. So if we were to do it this way, you can have a nested approach. I'm not a huge fan of this nested approach, if I'm honest, but we can do it. So I'll say delete doc here, and then I can go ahead and pass in the reference to the Firestore. So remember, we're deleting it from the Firebase storage first, and then we're deleting the reference to it in Firestore. And again, you can make this a transaction in Firebase to make sure it all happens in a swift move and everything works in the way we want it. But then after that, what we can do is do it then. Again, you can see the issue. You're going to get nested. Yeah, right. But I'm going to show you, I'm trying to show you different ways you can handle these. You can do async awaits. You can do whatever you want to do. And really with all your catches here, you can even go ahead and simplify it by doing a try catch above all of this. So if we do a try catch block, I can go ahead and pop this in, and it will by default catch any error over here. So we can say console log error, okay, or console error if you want to do that. So now it would by default catch any error that comes out of it. But after that, we can go ahead and say, for example, after that's done, we can say successfully deleted, right? So everything's good. Cool. So console log deleted. Yeah. So now we've got this kind of, delete systematically working the way we want it. And then what I want you to do is after all of this, we're going to set the modal to be closed. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say set is modal false. Okay. So now let's go ahead and give it a try. Okay. So let's go ahead and do, so Dropbox clone. Let's go ahead and do this, delete. And you see, boom, it went ahead and deleted it. Right. As SAS translator app, or, the podcast I recently did, delete. You can see it went ahead and got rid of it. Yeah. Dropbox clone, delete. And right now it's not awaiting for me to do that. So if you really want to go ahead and get that kind of handled in the correct way, you can either have it here, or you can have it after the then block. You can have a finally block, which will asynchronously wait for this call to happen first. And now if we did this, and I showed you, look at that. Firstly, beautiful skeleton loaders, SAS, delete. And now watch how it waited for the delete to happen. That's actually the behavior I want, because I want to add a toaster in afterwards to make sure that it goes ahead and informs us that, okay, deleting, right, and so forth. So if I was to go ahead and go this one as well, boom, you have no files. And also I just want to show you visually, remember that one? There you go, it works really nice. So let's go ahead and just show you again that this does work. So I can go Dropbox clone, really good, pops in when it's ready. AI Next.js 13 crash course, delete the Dropbox clone, boom, right? So awesome stuff. We've got the delete functionality down, right? We're going to add toast notifications afterwards, but for now, we're actually going to go ahead and add in the rename. So that's the delete modal done. So I think next up, we need to add in the delete modal, the rename modal, sorry. So the rename modal.tsx. RFCE, boom, we've got the rename modal like so. That looks great. Now with the rename modal, what I want you to do is a similar approach, right? We're going to have a few different things here, but I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. So we need the user's information. This needs to be a client-side component as well. So it's going to be use client. I'm going to go ahead and pop in the following like this. We've got the user's information. We need a piece of state to track the user's input because we're going to have the ability to basically rename the input file, okay? And then we've got the similar layout, right? So exactly the same similar layout. And I'm going to pop it in and demonstrate exactly what I mean, right? So this part, honestly, I just need you to kind of, you can always pause the screen and have a look at it and I'll show you what I've done here. I'll run through it, okay? So nothing completely out of the ordinary compared to what we did before. Firstly, I need to install the input. The button we already have. Button I already have. The input is what I need to install. So head over to Shadcn, head over to input, go down here, add input, Command J, input like so. This will install the input. And then I can go ahead, pull that in like so. And I want you to pay attention. All we're doing here is connecting it to the isRename modal on open change, exact same as the delete logic. We have a title for the dialog, rename the file. We have an input field. All this is doing is it's basically saying, if you hit the enter key, we're going to rename the file. Okay. And then we've also got, if you hit the button, it'll rename the file. We need to create that rename file function. Very straightforward. We can go ahead and create that like here. We say const rename file, and we can go ahead and do what we need to do with it afterwards, right? Then we have the cancel button, which will just simply close the modal. Okay, so at this point, very simply, same logic. We're gonna have a defensive code block. If it's if the user doesn't exist or there's no file ID selected, this is gonna be an asynchronous code block, and we can go ahead and get this set up the way we need to. So I'm actually gonna do the await update document. Now, what I'm actually gonna do is, all we're doing here is we're renaming the document. So it's actually very, very simple and straightforward. What we gotta do is we gotta say await update document, okay? Firebase Firestore, and then we have the document reference, which is actually the document itself, okay? So I'm gonna pop this inside. So we need the document reference. It's gonna be the user ID, and this is freaking out. Why? Oh yeah, and then we need the actual data that we're gonna pass in to go ahead and manipulate. So in this case, the file name is the input that we've typed in. Now the input, firstly, import the database, which is very important. The input here, you can see, is simply mapped. So what we're saying is, on change of the input, all you're doing is setting the input. So we're basically just, this is a very simple state example in React, right? If you don't understand state, I've got a whole video on my channel. You can feel free to check it out. Devs Buddy said, just completed office work and I've joined the stream. What is up, dude? Good to see you here. You should clear out the field via open change from state to voice state there. Yes, you can. You can do that as well. Yeah. Feel free to honestly mess around with this as much as you want. Yeah. So after all of this, then we're going to go ahead and set this to is rename model open false. Okay. So after you've actually done that as well, you should actually set the input to be blank. Yeah. So that way, once you've done your manipulation, it'll set the input to blank, and then it will go ahead and do this. To be honest with you, I think it destroys the entire model, but it's fine. Okay. So with that done, what we can now do is we can go over to our table, and we can go ahead, and where we have the delete modal, we simply pop in the rename modal. So you see, very clean code, very nice, very easy to work with. Okay. So with that in mind now, when I click on this, oh, nice. And let's go ahead and say AI, let's just say crash course. So you know that that's what I'm renaming it to. Rename, wait for it. Boom, crash course. Lovely. Works exactly as we wanted it. And if I refresh, we can see that it's persisted in the database and that actually did a correct thing. Crash course, AI 123. Even if I hit enter, it does exactly what we wanted. So just like that, we've done exactly what I wanted to do, right? We've got the sortability working. Obviously, I've only got one thing there, but that is actually doing the correct rename or setup. And we've got the delete modal. Great, great stuff. You can also make this a destructive variant if you really want to make it. In fact, let's just do that right now. Let's add that in. So if I went to the delete modal, the button right here, so we've got the ghost, then we've got here the variant, and this one could be destructive. Sorry, not variant, destructive. Now, boom, haha. If you want to show you on delete, yes, delete. Boom, get rid of it. All right. So at this point, we are almost there, guys. And if I went to go ahead and show you the dark mode as well, look, it looks beautiful. Everything looks great. Right, all the styling has been done accordingly, but we also want to have toast notifications. Now, what do I mean by toast notifications? Well, let's have a quick demo as to how that would work. So I'm going to go ahead and show you with a simple demonstration. I'm going to open up my files right now to my thumbnails. There we go. Boom. And now check this out. So I want to have it so that if I drag and drop, yeah, you see that uploading, really nice. If I click on a file, for example, right, so in this case 240k celebration. If I want to say 250, or let's just say 1 million K celebration, manifest that. Right, look at that, rename successfully. If I want to delete my caching explain video, delete. So how do we go ahead and get all this working? Okay, so very, very straightforward. I'm going to make it super, super easy. Right, first things first, I need you to go to Shadcn. I'm a big fan of Shadcn, if you can't tell. Okay, cough's getting worse. We're good. We're almost there. Quick little water break. I think we're doing really well. So you can see the importance of the global state, right? Guys, also, we're about to smash 500 likes. Just destroy that like button for the YouTube algorithm. You guys have been absolutely incredible so far. Okay, so toast, toast notification. So this is what a toast is like. You see this little bottom thing right there? So we can use a toast notification from here. I actually haven't used the toast notification here. And I'm really wondering, why didn't I not use this one? I'm actually confused as to why I didn't use this one. But you could use this one. I see you got some nice toast notifications there. You can use this one if you really want to. Okay, I'm just trying to think. Okay, we could use this one. I haven't used this one. I've used the other one. Okay, I'm telling you, I'm going to stick with the original plan. I use React Toast to do this, but you can keep it consistent if you want to and use the toast from Shadcn. I'm going to show you how we can use React Toast because I mean the Shadcn one is fairly straightforward. React Toast, I love this. Honestly, it's very nice. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and use this. We're going to say npm add React Toast. So I'm going to do my own version of this. Let's go ahead and pop this in like so. npm I React Toast. And we're going to go ahead and go to our layout file and we're going to add in the global toaster, which allows us to go ahead and get this set up. You can feel free to check out the documentation. It's so easy. Click on documentation, npm install. All you got to do is add in your toaster to your top level. So in our case, it's the layout file. Simply go to the top, bang it in at the top. And then I'm going to add it right underneath here at the toaster level like so. And then that allows us to actually globally access it for our entire app, which is very simple. All we now need to do is head over to our wherever we need to use it. So I guess let's start off with the rename modal. So when we have the rename modal, I am simply doing it at a high level here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it in there. And whenever we do any interaction, we can really kind of use this in a nice way. So when we start renaming the file, I'm going to say toast renaming. I get an ID from it, but that's very important, this part. And then I can say toast success once it's done. Right, so in this case, I can say toast.success. Okay. Now, for whatever reason, if there was an error, you can go ahead and do you could go ahead and do a then catch and so forth, or a try catch around this to make sure that if it was a fail, you could say toast.error and so forth. I'm being super optimistic here. I'm just saying it's success, right? But this is obviously a demo. You can go ahead and tap into that however way you want. Now, at this point, if I was to go ahead and drag and drop a file, why do I keep closing that? I need to, if I was to drag and drop a file into my application, let me go ahead and pop this in. So like so. So let's go ahead and do this. So if I had a Dropbox clone, for example here, and let's start renaming it. So if I type in Dropbox clone 123, look at that, rename successful. Boom, just like that, works exactly as we want it. Super nice, super clean. You can go ahead and add it and make it at the bottom if you want by simply going into your layout file. Oops, your layout file. And then here you can say position. And you can do like, for example, bottom center. So if I was to do the bottom center now and I do 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see like rename successfully. So if you want to do that, that's fine as well. Right, now we're going to do the same thing. We've already got the download working. That's great. We've got a download there. And if we want to do the delete, I need to have a delete. So in this case, in the delete modal, you can see it's super easy to go ahead and get this working, right? So at this point, I want to have my toast being fired off at the top here. So the moment we start, if we pass that point, we're going to do toast.loading. I need to import my toast to make sure it's working. I feel like I'm saying toast way too many times right now. And then we're going to go ahead and say toast successfully deleted. Yeah. So if, where is it? Finally, So after all of this is done, then we can say toast successfully deleted. Otherwise, if for whatever reason an error occurred, I can go ahead and say toast.error, error deleting. All right. So here, for example, okay, we can get rid of the console log. We don't need them. Don't want to pollute our code. Okay. So now with that in mind, if I delete this, deleted successfully. Boom. Just like that now. Absolutely beautiful stuff, right? And the final one I want to have is the drop zone. So when we do our drop zone, I want to have it so that way we're uploading. Okay, so if we head over to a drop zone, when we upload the post here, when we set the loading, we can simply go ahead and say the same logic applies here. So now I've got my toast.loading, toast.loading, and then I can go ahead and do, after it's all said and done, again, in this case, I'm being optimistic, but you can go ahead and have the try catch around it. If anything happened, you can go ahead and say it wasn't successful. But now let's go ahead and see this in action. Okay. Again, why do I keep closing that? It's crazy. Okay. So there we go. Let's go ahead and grab this Dropbox clone. Boom. Uploaded successfully. There we go, guys. Absolutely beautiful. I can go ahead and upload loads of things. And you can see right here, working exactly as we want it. Look at that. And also, I just want to prove a point to you that right now I'm only sort of dragging in things like PNGs, but I want to show you also how I could do something else. What else have I got here that I can put in? It's a good song. All right, let me go ahead and put in a JPEG file, for example. There you go. Look, JPEG, it works, right? So I don't want to put anything specific like of importance there. Oh my God, I was about to drag 4 gigabytes. MP3, let's put in a song example. So look at that song, like uploaded, boom. Really nice, right? So my internet's super fast, so you can see, and then obviously we've got, you know, different songs going on. I can delete that. There we go. Simple as that. Really, really nice, right? And the SAS 1, 2, 3. Renaming, boom. There we have it. Absolutely incredible stuff. Dark mode is working exactly as we want it as well. Go back into over here. Welcome to Dropbox. I want to prove a point to you that, again, let's do a quick demo of the application. Try for free. I'm going to log into a separate account now. So for example, the team account. Team at Popular React. And then wait for it. Open up the dashboard. You can see I should see my own files here. Bang in. Look at that. Amazing stuff. If I open up my thumbnail, Dropbox phone, boom. Nice. Look at that. And then we can go ahead and do SAS Translator app, boom. Amazing stuff. Click on this, sign out. Let's do one more demo. Go back to Sunny. We should see my original files. So just to prove a point to you that they are all individual to your user. This is absolutely phenomenal. Working exactly the way that we wanted it. Zaid says, yo, that is sick. Cheers from Taiwan. Yo, what's up? Good to see you. Look at that. Bam. Works exactly as we want it. There you go, guys. Dropbox. Absolutely awesome stuff. This is amazing. Look, you can sort by the oldest, sort by newest. We've got all this new stuff, fully responsive. Absolutely works amazing. You can obviously make this as responsive as you want it. Kind of take it as far as you want. I've obviously taken it to a certain degree, but this is an absolutely amazing project to add to your portfolio. I stress this time and time again. Add stuff like this to your portfolio. It showcases so many different things, right? I'm not joking when I say that. It really is showcasing so many things. So at this point now, I think we're ready to deploy this application. So let's go ahead. Firstly, we're 5 likes away from hitting 500. So destroy that right now if you want to help push this video out to many people as possible. So how do we deploy this thing? So firstly, I need you to install the Vercel CLI. So Vercel CLI, simply go ahead, Google it. You can do Vercel CLI overview. Install it the following way. I've already installed it. I don't need to do this, right? Then all you need to do is type in Vercel login, which I've already done. So I'm not going to do that. And then you just basically literally type in Vercel and hit enter. And then it will say set up and deploy. Yes. And now I've already logged in. I've got a few different teams when we handle some software projects. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my default team. Now what you can see is linked to an existing project. No. What's your project name? I'm happy with the basic. In which directory is your code located? There you go. We can upload it like so. And remember guys, after we've done this, I'm going to show you how you can even map it to your own custom domain name with Hostinger. Okay. Want to modify these settings? Nope, we're all good. Okay. Now at this point, this will fail. What I want you to do is click on the inspect. Click OK. At this point, the reason why this will fail is because we have to not set our environment variables. Now, what I need you to do here is I need you to go into your environment file. So I'm going to click enter now. I'm going to hide my keys. So that way you guys can't go crazy and start doing madness. Okay, that's not my key. But anyway, yeah, so I want you to copy this file with the key intact, right? So I've deleted it here for obvious reasons. Yeah, so I want you to copy that file. So I've copied it. I'm copying it right now. I am going back to Vercel, and I am back at Vercel now. We also hit 500 likes. That's what I'm talking about. Madness. Thank you so much, guys. And here, I want you to paste it. Okay, so I'm going to paste it right now. Pasted, right? And right now, I'm basically just going to cut a little bit of my key out. But you would have seen that the entire key would have been pasted here, right? So at this point, I'm going to undo this and I'm going to click on save. So that way you paste the entire key. So I've gone ahead and click save. And just like that now, you should have both keys here. Okay, so with both keys here, that's what we want to get to. The next natural step is now, we want to go ahead and cancel our build. So I'm going to do Control-C. And I want to do the same thing with Vercel. And to be honest, we can deploy straight to prod. Right, so Vercel -- prod. Because you can see by default it does to preview and then you can deploy it to production. So I'm doing Vercel prod and then you can inspect your build. This is where it will begin to build. Now, don't be surprised if something breaks here. For example, TypeScript definition wasn't matching up or so forth. This is part of coding. This is going to happen. Okay. Now, while this is loading, what I want to do is I want to go over to Hostinger because I want to show you how we can go ahead and get our custom domain name connected and mapped up. So right now I'm inside of Hostinger. So I'm going to go. So again, if you haven't already checked it out, the biggest ever sale is happening over there, guys. You need to use code SUNNY at checkout to get a further bigger discount. Honestly, it's up to 85% off. It's mad right now what they're doing. Click on login, click in sign in. I've already got an account here, so I'm going to go ahead and sign into my team account, right? So I believe it was this account. And I'm just going to confirm that we are correctly logged in before I resume. Okay, here we are. Okay, so in this case, you can see I bought my own VPS server from them and we have a domain here. So what I need you to do is once you've bought your domain, right? So again, you can go check it out right now. They have an entire week of sales on right now. It's in the description to go ahead and check it out. Click on the domain, click on manage. Okay, once you're here, we're now in the H panel. The H panel is so easy to use in Hostinger. I'm a big fan of it for this one reason. Okay, then I need you to click on DNS name servers. Now, once you're here, this is the magic step. Okay, this is the magic step as to where we go ahead and do the connection between our Vercel deployment and what we're going to be doing. So at this point, firstly, congratulations, guys. We just went ahead and deployed the app. So if you go over to the domains, you can see right here, Dropbox clone, YouTube. This is actually live right now. So I can literally go ahead and check this out. I'm popping it in the chat as well. So feel free to go wild on that. Have a look at it. But you can see right now, if I go ahead and click start, try it for free, this will go ahead and actually work. This is production. This is working. Sunny Sanga. I'm going to log into my account right now. And now check it out, guys. Bro, do you write 100% code completely or C code and then write? No, this is all fresh. I wrote all this from scratch. Obviously I prepared it beforehand, but all of this code is I've written from my side of things. Yeah. So you can see that, guys, this is actually live. So you can feel free to check it out right now at the URL on the screen, and that is working. You can play with it yourself. Try it out. It works. It's awesome. Right now, at this point, I want to map that to a domain name. So how would you do that, right? So I'm going to run through the steps to show you how you would do this. So as you can see, firstly, congratulations. That is sick. We just deployed an app, right? Literally as simple as that. Click on this, go to settings, go to domains. And here is where the magic happens. Now I've already connected Sunny Sanga to a different domain. So all I'm going to do is provide a demonstration of how you would do this. So let's go ahead and say that our website was supersickapp.com. Okay, so supersickapp.com. We're going to click on add. Okay, then you can go ahead and say add Superstack app and redirect Superstack app to it. Okay, so click on add, right? And then you can see it says invalid configuration. So what I need you to do here is you would copy this value, right? Go over to your DNS domain name server. And for example, here you would do @name points to this, add the record. Okay, that's the first thing you would do. The second one is you go to CNAME, www, and add this one. So you would click on add record, then you would add a CNAME. You would go ahead and change that CNAME to www for the name. And then the target would be cname.vercel.dns.com. Okay, you would do that on both of these, and then you will click save. Okay, then you will click save. Now, once you've done that, guys, it will take a second to propagate through the servers. Don't expect it to be instant. In my past experience, it really does not take too long, but it sometimes is not instant because host engine needs a bit of time. This is normal with any provider, whether you use any provider out there. It will take time to propagate through the servers so that connection between your Vercel deployed app and Hostinger is made successfully. But that is as simple as it gets. And obviously, if you do go ahead and buy the VPS side of things, you can then go ahead and actually check out the VPS options that they offer and check out the video on my channel where I teach you how to not deploy to Vercel, but to deploy to a Hostinger VPS themselves. So you can have it hosted and control it yourself. But this has been an absolutely banger of a build. That is how you would go ahead and deploy it. And you can see right now, this is live. Let me know right now so you guys can see. While testing how much is width. I don't actually set min widths a lot of the time when I'm testing things out. I do flexbox rules, that kind of thing, as opposed to just setting width constraints, because you should always want your screens to be dynamic. It could be a tablet that they're using. It could be a bigger phone. It could be a smaller phone. All of these things kind of factor in, okay? But yeah, I think with that said, guys, that is absolutely incredible. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick little demo. And as I mentioned before, while I've got all your attention here, to build things like this takes time. To get good at coding takes time. But the biggest thing that I have found that's been the most effective way of learning how to code, landing the job that you really truly want, is having the correct mentorship. I have mentors of my own, whether it's business, whether it's gym, whether it's coding, whatever it is, I have a mentor. And this is why I built Zero to Full Stack Hero for you guys. Zero to Full Stack Hero, it's not just a course, it's the world's best developer community. I say that with my chest. This is exactly what it is. You can go ahead and watch this video right now on popularreact.com/course to see for yourself what we're all about. All right, guys, we literally take you from zero coding ability all the way up to becoming a pro level coder. And then we support you through your journey. Every course out there typically has an expiration date because they don't keep up to date with the latest and greatest bits of tech. I wanted to break this pattern. I wanted to make sure that every single time a new Next.js comes out, every single time a new library comes out, every single time the next Tailwind CSS comes out, you guys are well informed. You have a community to fall back on to help you guys elevate your coding skills, always stay at the top and forefront of the tech world and be above and beyond. So that way you land the dream jobs that you want, you start the companies that you deserve, and you kill it in what you want to do. And that's how you land your dream life, your dream job. And I swear to God, if you don't believe anything I'm saying, all I insist you do, go to popularreact.com and go to the testimonials section of the website. Go to the top here, click on reviews, and I promise you this will change your entire mindset. These are absolutely real people on our website. These are all real people, all real students. I think we're getting a lot of traffic on my website right now because there's a lot of delay, but you can see here, these are all members inside of our community that you can go ahead and read for yourself. I want you to go ahead and check it out and honestly see for yourself and check it out. So someone says it's called error. Okay, you can feel free to check that out yourself. I'm not sure what's happening with you. But you can see for yourself, these are all members inside of our community. It changed my entire life by doing this because honestly, seeing the success of each and every single one of our students is why I do what we do, guys. This is not made up stuff. This is literally what I put my heart and soul into. It's what this entire YouTube channel is derived from. It's what we do. It's how we do what we do. These are all winning people. These are all winning students. This is what the Papa Fam is about. Every time you hear me say the Papa Fam, it's literally students who are loving what they do, who are literally, all they want to do is be better coders. So feel free to check out popularreact.com/course. This is the course you want to be a part of. This is the family you want to be a part of. This is an ever-growing community of, honestly, the world's best developers. It is literally the way that we've set it up, that everything is down to a T, perfect. I love this course. I love this community. I will forever put my heart and soul into it, and it's there for 50% off right now. So feel free to enjoy that. I've done that for you guys. You guys can benefit from that. With that said, guys, this has been an amazing build. It's been an amazing build. Let me know right now what your favorite part of this build was. We've got Hajira in the chat right now. She goes, I joined the course recently. Do check it out, guys, because you'll be a part of the best community, 100%. Right? So JC goes, I got to run to my team's daily stand up. Awesome stuff. Thank you for tuning in. Jack says, what's your get my account? And if you can't see a login button, it's on the top right here. You can go ahead and see it for yourself. Okay, remember, if you are using the Host Ninja discount, make sure you use coupon code SUNNY at checkout. Everything helps support this Papa Fam community. Everything helps support the YouTube channel. All you need to do is like, comment, subscribe on whatever you enjoyed. That helps push this video out. We're going to do a quick run through of the features of today's video, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in as we, the way we do it. We built the Dropbox clone today with Next.js 14. We have Next.js 14 powering the entire thing, the new app router. We have Shadcn to make it look absolutely beautiful. This whole thing is responsive. Clerk Authentication to make this perfectly working. We have full CRUD functionality, the ability to rename things, the ability to delete things. We have Tailwind CSS for the styling side of things. Everything is being stored securely inside of our Firestore database. So you guys have learned so many different skills today. It's absolutely incredible. And we've done this in a short period of time. Imagine if we can do that today. Imagine what we can do every single week in a coaching call, right? Feel free to check it out, right? Build this out, add it to your portfolio. TypeScript to make sure your code is robust and safe. And honestly, I would say this is one of those builds that I would really recommend now. If you haven't done any of my builds before, do this one. Do this one. It's going to really impress the hell out of people. It's an amazing addition to your portfolio. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the entire build. I loved making it. And guys, your boy is back with more banger builds, and I'm going to keep them coming your way. Hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just going to literally read up the final bits of comments before we absolutely close out on this one. But with that said, I think this is an absolutely banger video. And yeah, thank you so much for always supporting me in what we do. None of this is possible without you guys. But yeah, this was a banger video, Dropbox 2.0. If you're watching this in the replay right now, remember, check out all the timestamps. Skip to where you want to get to. Leave a comment if you enjoyed it, because it helps me make the next build a bit better. And subscribe if you haven't already. With that said, guys, it's your boy Papa React, aka Sunny Sanga, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. Look at that. We've got everyone saying love from Kenya, love from USA. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Greetings from Serbia. What's good? Amazing stuff, guys. The Dropbox clone. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, guys. Peace.